Welcome to Rebel Watch, an all-Star Wars podcast.
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly?
Hey Star Wars fans, welcome to Rebel Watch. I'm Ez, and this is our January edition. Each month we're going to be doing a larger format of podcast, basically in audio form that brings in different people. We're going to do some interviews, maybe do some collaborations with other podcasters. So this is our January edition. We will have our February edition will be out February 15th. We're already working on that, but today on the show we have Tiffany O'Malley from Swish and Flick. It's an all-Potter podcast. We also have Lane Smith from an unexpected podcast, Talkin Tolkien, doing a Lord of the Rings reread. So we have two podcasters today, and we're going to get their perspective on The Last Jedi. So just a quick channel update. Mike and I will still be doing our week-to-week, theories. We have Rebels coming up, I think, February 19th or something like that. We just, the mid-season trailer just dropped, and it looks pretty epic, actually. So we will be discussing that. We'll also be just sort of looking forward to any news we get for Han Solo. I mean, we haven't heard much. There's been a few things here or there, but I'm guessing we're going to be getting some news pretty soon. So, yeah, we'll still have those. Matt is also going to keep doing his work with just video games, basically Star Wars video games, anything that's coming out new there. So look forward to those. And, so as we get into this podcast today, we have two different perspectives on The Last Jedi. Hopefully in February, we'll have 2 to 3 perspectives on The Last Jedi. And we just really wanted to kind of bring different people on and get their thoughts. You guys have heard Mike and I talk about the movie. And and I'm really interested to hear what these folks have to say. So, we'll get to that in a second. But, in just thinking about The Last Jedi, one of the things I wanted to make, more clear from our last couple podcasts is that Mike and I have sort of a response video coming up soon where we're going to look at a couple YouTubers have really talked about the plot and some plot holes and things that they thought were either inconsistencies or things like that. So just to let you guys know, we have a big response video that's going to be coming out maybe into January, beginning of February. So, overall, I mean, you guys know that I liked the film. There was a lot of things I liked about it. I liked the writing and the different lines. I thought every line had meaning, and there was some duality. There were multiple layers, and so I'm a huge fan. So when you listen here in just a moment to a couple of our guests, I often say, yep, and kind of just I'm here just to listen to them and sort of ask them questions and really get their thoughts. So just wanted to let you guys know there'll be things that are said. I believe Matt is going to join us with Tiffany, and as you guys know, there'll be things that Matt says that I'll just okay, I'll just nod my head and we'll go along with it. It is fine. I love hearing different perspectives, and this is why we started this whole podcast. We love to have these discussions with. So if you're a listener and you want to have more discussions with us, Facebook's the place to go have discussions there. We have threads after each podcast where you can discuss. Also on YouTube, we get a lot of comments, and we love to go back and forth with people in the comments and things. So all about the community and just having a really good conversation. So all right, I think that's about it. We'll also be hopefully just trying to keep you guys up to date on any news and stuff that's coming out. This is going to be sort of a lull as we get back into Rebels, and we've got a couple books that Mike and I haven't read. We've got some comic book series that we have to get back to and things. But for the next couple months here, I think we're going to get just different perspectives on The Last Jedi as we move into Han Solo. So bear with us, for January, February, and then maybe March. We'll kind of see how we'll kind of feel it out here. So, but again, this is just our January podcast. Like I said, February 15th. You'll have another one, March 15th, and so on, is my goal. So just thought I'd give you guys a quick update there. So, all right, we will take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Tiffany O'Malley. And welcome back. We are talking about The Last Jedi from a certain point of view. I am now joined by Tiffany O'Malley and my good friend Matt Brady. Tiffany, how's it going today?
It's going really well. I'm excited.
You're excited, you're pumped, you're amped. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm not as excited.
Whoa.
Because this movie wasn't that exciting.
Dang, just bringing it down.
Wow.
We were up and now we're down.
From a certain point of view, holy smokes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, so Matt and I have, here on Rebel Watch, we've talked a lot about The Last Jedi, and we've kind of gotten our thoughts and opinions out there. And this January podcast, again, is all about getting different perspectives from or on The Last Jedi. So, I mean, Tiffany, we talk about Star Wars. We're always texting, and you're a deep and sweaty fan,
Oh.
So, I mean, I want to know, like, what's going on out there in this, and like all you hear negatives, you hear positives, you hear people who are done with Star Wars, they're never going to watch it again. I mean, what were your initial thoughts, I guess?
Oh, so my initial thoughts, I think after I saw it the first time, and I've seen it twice, I should say that, I was conflicted, as many of us were. And I remember I texted you and I was like, as I have to talk now, I have so many feelings.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But honestly, so I enjoyed it, but I had a lot of questions. I needed to see it again.
Right.
And I knew that right off the bat. As soon as those credits hit, I was like, okay, so when am I coming back?
Right.
So, and then I went and saw it the second time, and it made a whole lot more sense that second time around.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, the fact that you get that feeling like I need to go back and watch it again, I think is good, because so many people I heard were just like done. I mean, like one view, there were some people who were done at like, I don't know, like halfway through the movie, they saw one thing and they were just done. And, I mean, I maybe some people had, like, I had a must have going into it. I was like, I need to see this, but I watched the whole movie just to make sure, what I needed to have happen happened, and it did. So,
Oh,
but,
what was your must have?
my must have, I needed, and this is funny because Matt, you read the spoilers beforehand. You remember this?
I did, yeah.
Matt, what is it that you said to me? You said that I'd be.
I believe I said, I think you're really gonna like it, and I don't think I am.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Because going into it, in my predictions video, where I was talking with Mike, we were going over what we thought we would see. Which, again, I'm so glad we did that, because you could see how far off we were,
right,
and how basically everyone's thoughts and predictions were just thrown out the window the same way Luke threw that lightsaber, over the cliff. I mean,
over the cliff.
Right. But my must-have was for Luke Skywalker to have this epic moment. I needed one epic boss moment from Luke Skywalker, or I wasn't going to be happy.
You got it, sir.
And I did. But what I wanted more than that, and where I'm kind of like, maybe I'll see it in 9, is I wanted to see, Luke master Luke Skywalker. I wanted to see him as a master, training, and I don't know. And you didn't really get to see that because of all the stuff that happened with the destruction of his temple and his order, right? So
yeah,
you almost see a broken master, which is very different. I thought we were going to get to see. We knew from The Force Awakens that that he had been a master for a while and those things had happened. So, but I was still kind of hopeful that we would see this optimistic, Luke Skywalker, and I'm kind of glad we didn't, because it taught me something about, growing old and how life can get you down and different things and stuff. So, I don't know. Did you have any like must-have things that you like going into it? Or like your predictions, were they?
So I should let people know that I'm a relatively new fan.
Okay, that's fine.
I really actually start watching the movies when Episode 1 came out.
Yeah.
And hello, Matt. Good old Mount Vernon Theater seeing this. So, how old were we then?
I don't know. Like
we were pretty young.
We were in like Yeah.
No, we were in middle. No, we were in middle school.
Middle
weren't we?
school. I think
No.
it was. Like,
Yeah, probably like 4th or 5th grade.
That is not middle school.
Yeah, it was. What was it? 99? So when did it come out? Let me see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, so relatively new, and then started to get into it a little more when we were in college, and as had me sit down and watch them.
Oh my God!
At the Nurk House.
I forgot about that.
Yes. So relatively new, and then started really getting back into it. When 7 came out, and so I've started reading some of the novels and all of that. So
Right.
I will say that.
So
go. Oh, go ahead.
No, just real quick for our listeners. Were you involved in our senior skit, Star Wars skit?
I wasn't because I was on court.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah, I was on form court. So
Form
no,
court.
I couldn't.
Yeah, misimportant. I forgot. Yeah,
I almost slid into the people in form court one of the nights.
Yeah, that was epic. Okay, just sorry, I couldn't remember. But you did come down and watch them with us, didn't you? Because that's when we Mike was watching as well. We were all in like the dress, getting dressed up or whatever.
Because Mike started getting into Star Wars. Mike hadn't seen Star Wars until like senior year of high school.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I watched them in the theaters, but then really started because I was hanging out with you guys all the time. Started really getting into it's all because of Ezra.
Well,
Thank you, Ez. It is. It's all I'm into Star Wars because you introduced it to me.
Well, good. I'm doing what I can for the galaxy.
Right.
Okay, so back to your predictions.
Right.
I guess your thoughts going into it.
So I definitely predicted a Force ghost. I was like, we're seeing someone. I didn't know who we were going to see, but we were going to see a Force ghost. So I was pleasantly, when I saw Yoda, I literally yelled out in the theater. I was just a sound that came out of my mouth, but I was so excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's, as far as everything else, I tried to keep it like an open mind to everything. And, whatever was going to come at us was going to come at us. So,
okay, that's good.
Things have been a little, weird in the Star Wars universe, with all these different people coming in and Disney buying it and all that. So, I tried to just...
Yeah, and directors getting fired and what have you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to...
I think we need to fire some more directors or maybe Kathleen Kennedy or something.
You're such a Debbie Downer, man. Your new name's Debbie.
That's funny.
I don't know, man. Rogue One was good. But...
Oh, Rogue One, man.
Yeah, Rogue One was great.
We could do another episode about Rogue One with me.
Yeah.
Talk about
absolutely.
Tears.
Yeah, and you know what? Interesting thing about Rogue One. I mean, Gareth Edwards there was willing to kind of play ball with Story Group and things. So, which was cool, and Kathleen Kennedy in a sense. So, because there was major reshoots and stuff, things were altered and stuff in that film. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think they're keeping all that stuff close to the chest as to who's really making those big decisions. You know what I mean? I know Kathleen Kennedy's a big part of it, but like Lawrence Kasdan is a guy that I keep hearing his name. He was involved in the originals, and he just they keep kind of falling back to him as to, is this good? Does this seem like Star Wars, etc. So I don't know, but yeah. All right. So had to have a Force ghost. Just kind of. All right. Was there anything else that you did you want to know who Snoke was? Were you?
Oh yeah. I mean, we were listening. I mean, I listen to Rebel Watch religiously, and so wondering who Snoke is. We're speculating about that. Is Reylo happening? We all wanted to know that.
A
lot of those unanswered questions, but
right now, okay. So
go ahead. Get into that.
Yeah. Because I do want to get into that eventually. So, but I wanted to see kind of what your thoughts were. How you wanted to approach this from your point of view. But I do want to talk about Reylo and Snoke at some point. So you let me know.
Don't worry, those are on my list.
Okay, good. All right, good.
All right. So basically, I have some notes for today because I'm an organized individual. So I have pros, I have cons, and then I have cons and then in parentheses that are not so cons. Huh. So maybe those are more like my unanswered questions type deal.
Right. Yeah. So, see, in Star Wars, I don't understand what cons mean. Like I think of Star Trek and con, I think of con. That doesn't fit for me. So you're gonna have to explain to me cons.
Okay, well then let's start with the cons.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. It's called the Princess Leia scene. Maybe you saw it.
Oh boy.
Let me get there, Matt. Let me get there.
Okay.
All right, so I have to bring up the Hux humor.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the first time I saw that, I literally you guys labeled it as cringeworthy. I cringed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It was so soon, and it was from the dark the villain side of it, and I was like, what's happening right now? Like
Yeah.
The second time I saw it, it wasn't so bad.
Right.
It was, I don't know if maybe it's because I was expecting it to come, but the second time I saw it, it wasn't as cringeworthy as the first time.
Yeah. I actually kind of thought that as well. Just because like when Hux is Matt doesn't like this because it shows that Hux is kind of like, not that he's stupid, but like just that he doesn't get humor, I guess. And so that's...
Oh, yeah. It was right over his head.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Very smart, though, obviously. I mean, he's one up in, Kylo Ren in this film. So, till the end. But, yeah. So, okay, cool. I mean...
So that scene was a little weird for me.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
And then this I literally couldn't watch the second time because I knew it was coming.
Oh, boy.
The milking scene.
Really?
Yes. It was just so weird.
Wow.
See, now I actually liked the milking scene.
Yeah.
It's because you're weird.
No, it's because it's and Ez and I've talked about this. It's something George Lucas would do. Actually, like we were talking about, like George Lucas said he liked this movie, and we're probably like that was probably his favorite part.
Oh yeah, he probably loved that.
I mean,
scene.
probably.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it less cringeworthy for me though.
Yeah. No,
I mean it was weird, but I mean I thought it was great.
But I think it just showed you how far like Luke had gone to stay away from everything. Like he is living off the land, on this.
But Luke used to be a farmer, so it's not really that odd for Luke. I think that's the thing is people look at Luke now and they're like, oh, he's this great Jedi and stuff. It's like, well, he grew up a farmer. It's not like he doesn't know how to farm. Like,
yeah, but I think he's like back to it though. I think that's what kind of struck me.
Yeah,
I think I've always viewed Luke as a farmer. Once you start farming, okay, it's part of your life. Okay. I mean,
yeah, that actually seemed pretty normal to me. I liked so I'm with Matt. I had a lot of friends though at work who were like that was the scene. They were done, and I was like, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like that was so messed up, and I'm like, really? That was messed up. I was just like, that was hilarious, especially Mark Hamill's like expression as the milk is like dripping down his beard. It's just like,
I mean, it was perfectly done.
Great.
It was just strange.
Right. Okay.
For me to watch. Maybe not strange for his character per se.
Yeah.
But it was awkward to watch.
I got you.
And it was supposed to be. It was supposed to make her kind of uncomfortable. He was like doing these things and showing her like, no, that's not my life anymore.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Well, it's also almost like Luke raises his eyebrow like, yeah, this is happening. This is what we do here.
Yeah. If you're gonna stay, this is what goes down.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. Okay. Yeah, so Space Leia is my next point.
Okay.
Not that I didn't. It's also on my cons, not so con side. It was just kind of like it was strange to see. It was like, oh, that happens now, and I guess I didn't realize that was something that she could do.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask you? So being
sure.
and not that this is not a put down or anything at all. It's just that when being fresher into it maybe than somebody who was had watched who knows and can quote all of the originals and things like that, right? Was it shocking? Did you think that she had any force powers, or were you or force sensitivity? You know what I mean? Did you know?
No, I mean I thought that she was force sensitive. I mean she's a
Skywalker.
Sister. Yeah, she's a Skywalker. So in my mind, there was no way that she couldn't be force sensitive. I just didn't know how powerful she was.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, and so you said that's a con for you, that scene?
It was a con, not so con.
So why was it a con? Because Like you didn't think Leia should be able to do that, or is a con because it's the single most awkward? It looks like somebody photoshopped it in scene ever.
Well, my mind didn't go to your my mind didn't go to your second point. I guess I really didn't pay attention to that much. I think I was just shocked at the fact that like she could do that. But my not so con is that, I mean, I'm a Harry Potter person, so I got to push it to comparing to that. Is that there's outside what you call like your force box, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Voldemort pushes magic beyond what anybody can comprehend. These individuals so strong within the force that they're pushing it beyond what anybody can comprehend.
Yeah. Yep. Wow, that's good. That actually brings up a really good point because in The Force Awakens, it's I did several videos on the Force, and I really think they're pushing, just like actually in Lord of the Rings, the ring is a character, and you know, magic in itself, in some ways, the way that Dumbledore talks about it can be another character. This is an unseen, invisible character, and then the Force, you know, also being like that, and then the fact that the Force could awaken in someone, and I thought Luke in this movie really explained it very well, and that it's in between. It's the balance, and that, you know, for us, it's how arrogant for us to think that, you know, if a Jedi were to die, that the light dies with that Jedi. You know what I mean? Because it's all kind of recycled and reborn, and you know what I mean. So it was interesting that well, and it goes back to something I've said before, which is when Obi-Wan first talks about the Force. And Luke wonders if he can control it, or does it control him? And that's always been kind of the struggle for the Jedi and the Sith. Yeah, really. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Is that it's like we can do. I mean, I actually walked out from this movie, and I said several times, "We can do that now." You know, like that's something we can do in the Force. You know, and it did kind of push us beyond.
You know, when I saw that, like I had read the spoilers beforehand. Yeah, and. So, well, because I didn't think I was gonna be able to see it because I was going on vacation, right? And so anyway, so the part I actually thought that I wasn't going to like was the Force projection. And so when I read through it, I was like, not that it didn't sound cool, but I was just like, that's just a lame way to do it. I was like, I just don't like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why didn't Luke just go there? Like he has his X-wing. Right. But then when I saw it, it was like it was executed way better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And so I loved it. Actually, that's like best part of the movie, I think. Right. But then like the Leia scene, when I read that, I was like, oh, okay. Like, oh, you were totally cool with it? I was totally cool with it. It didn't shock me. It didn't whatever. Cause I don't know. I've always just viewed the Force as like, the Force, like Ez is saying, it is its own entity. It does what it wants. Yeah. Right. If the Force wants a planet to blow up, it's going to do it. Like, right. And so like, I had no problem with Leia. I actually thought when I read it, I actually thought it was cool. And I've said several times, I really think that the novelization of this book is going to be really good. Yeah. And like for me, I've said it before, my biggest problem with this movie is execution. It's like directive, like the Leia scene. It's just so bad. Like, you just didn't like the way it looked. It looks so bad. Like, I mean, people were laughing in the theater. Like, oh, really? Yeah. Oh. Maybe I was with a harsher crowd. Not in Cleveland. Yeah. Well, when I was in Portland, and they were laughing, and it was. Oh, jeez. Yeah. Like. Oh so, man. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's I get what you're saying though, is that like on paper, you know, versus what, you know, how things look, right? And some of that, you know, I don't know filmmaking as well as maybe I should, but you know, like with Rian Johnson being the director, right? And then he's got to look at those things. He's not the one who designed and made, you know, that particular scene or whatever. So there's so many people in charge of these things that sometimes you do get a scene, I've noticed in other movies, that's like, that doesn't feel like it even belonged in this movie. You know, who was the rogue, you know, person in charge of that? It's just kind of interesting, like that. I just think though, because so you have 4, 5, and 6, right? And when they're done, everyone's like, God, this is like, it changed cinematography forever. Yeah. Like I mean, absolutely changed cinematography. Then you get to the 90s where George Lucas adds stuff and it's CG, and it's like, okay, well, but people didn't. I don't really remember people saying, well, like, oh, the CG is weird. It's just being like the stuff he added was weird. Then you get to the prequels and everyone's like, God, it's all CG. And so then like, it's just weird. Star Wars is in this weird space now because people, like in episode 7, like, okay, we get back to practical effects and it all looks cool. But then like Maz looked kind of weird because she's like CG, and so the CG and like the puppets don't match up. And then in Rogue One, a big criticism was everyone was like CG Leia, who literally is in the scene, is literally in the movie for like 2 seconds. But that was like a big criticism. But I don't know, I didn't have a problem with it, or like CG Tarkin. And so it's just weird that Star Wars, which used to be heralded as like pushing the boundaries of like cinematography, like now some of the biggest criticisms of it are like cinematography stuff, like not plot stuff, but like cinema. It's just weird. I don't know. I just find it weird.
Yeah, and that's just really, I think, George Lucas being who he was at the time and advancing. I mean, he created his own prop shop, and he created his own special effects and things like that. So he was a forerunner there. I mean, he was kind of pushing things forward and doing things that people hadn't really seen before. And so then, you get to the prequels and things like that, and the technology that's there. It's just very easy to
use it.
Well, he wanted to use it for sure, and he wants to keep kind of, doing those things. But Matt's right. Sometimes those things look a little weird when you put the two together.
Yeah, it just doesn't look fluid, I guess you could say. Like nothing transfers like the same across. Yeah, because they all look a little different.
Right. I mean, like in some things, like I don't know. It's just because like it's like, what do you do, right? It's like, do you try to go with more practical effects? Do you try to go with more CG? I mean, which you got to find that balance. Because like if you go back and you look at say like Lord of the Rings, like I mean, Lord of the Rings, when I watch it, like I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are moments that look kind of weird, but I mean that production was like so absolutely massive. But that's like all costuming and stuff like that, and and then also maybe part of it is that like trilogies and movies used to happen. It'd be like, okay, you get one and then you're going to see another one like in 3 years, 4 years, right? Like it's going to be a while. But now, because with like, this is a Disney thing. I've criticized Disney a lot. And my biggest worry about Star Wars, I've said this on the channel before, is the Marvel effect that we're getting like 3 Marvel movies a year. And so because they're trying to churn all this stuff out as quickly as possible, is that something that's affecting, when you have more time to do things, you're not like on as tight of I don't know.
You want quality over quantity.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and I think
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think part of it, the reason you had those bigger gaps, it's just it depends on the technology, advancements in technology, and things are, easier, quicker, able to do. But it was a good 2 years, I believe, between the Force Awakens and the Last Jedi. So it wasn't like they're doing those 1 year turnarounds. They're kind of actually what they're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw Rogue One, not that the same crew is working on it or whatever, but
and then yeah, and so that crew had been working on that for how long? You know what I mean? It's neat to go back and look and see. But yeah, with the actual saga, I think they are taking like every 2 years, like a decent amount of time to kind of do these things. One thing you mentioned, the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit scene, for example, and when they're running from the Goblin King, one of the most ridiculous CGI things I've ever like seen. It just felt so unreal and so unrealistic and so ridiculous, and that was under Peter Jackson's direction and things. So there you go. You have someone who did the Lord of the Rings, which was unbelievable, awesome, and then he goes and does the Hobbit, and look at that. I mean, it's just so same sort of thing. You've got George. It happened to George Lucas, with the originals, and then he went and did the prequels. Same thing happened. So it's just probably a weird place in our history of the advancements of technology and how we kind of interweave those with real puppets and real props and things.
Yes.
So I don't know. Also, it's Star Wars too. It's all in space and stuff. So that was,
you have no like,
It was weird. The way they did it, and it was kind of unexpected. I'm glad she has the Force powers, and I'm glad that we could see the Force kind of wrap itself around her and say, "Not yet, not your time."
Right.
And that was awesome. That was cool. So.
Yeah.
Which, if you want to hear more about that, Matt and I had a really good discussion. Was that on Patreon, Matt?
I think it is. That's our what would happen if like Carrie Fisher hadn't died.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation that we had. Basically about the direction.
It's mostly just about like narratively, like where were they? What was episode 9 planned to be? Like what did it affect? How did it affect episode 8? I mean, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was major. So
Yeah. All right, Tiffany.
Yeah.
So what do we got next?
As you know, as far as I only have about like 2 more little cons, and these aren't really big deals to me, but I wanted more Finn, and I wanted a little more Rey too, a little more development with Rey's character.
Yeah.
But
okay.
And I want more Finn because Finn is great.
Yeah, he's the one who I really like. I agree more with. I think we got. Rey was a little bit overshadowed just because of she's there a lot and she's having a lot of conversation. But it was what people really struggled with was we didn't learn anything more about Rey, or what we learned wasn't what they were expecting. And they were upset with. But anyways, yeah, Finn though, I really felt like I feel like more people aren't making. They're upset with Canto Bight and the scene and Rose and stuff like that. But I am more, I guess, kind of. Where's his, like he's a leader, he's a hero, but what else do we know about him? And I don't know. It's very, maybe kind of Han Solo like in a different way. We don't have really any backstory on him. So
yeah, but I mean, now that they're all back together again, at the end, I think we're gonna see more of him definitely in 9.
Yeah, for sure. 9. I agree with you. So I mean, he's just a beloved character. I really loved his chemistry with Daisy Ridley. And interesting fact here, JJ, when they first started shooting The Force Awakens, their chemistry was terrible. And actually,
oh really?
Yeah, they like shifted her to BB-8 and put more BB-8 seriously, and kind of just got her, which is again kind of awkward, but they got her more comfortable, kind of. Doing stuff on her own, and then they reshot a lot of the stuff with Finn. So
well, it ended up working out. I mean,
yeah, it sure did because they're great, and that was what kind of you loved those two, and you love those two together. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
On to the pros.
Yeah, on to the pros. What do you got?
Lots more pros than cons, my friends.
Okay. All right,
Matt. I want you to listen. Clear. Number 1 pro: Porgs.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about the Porgs is like, all right, here's the thing about the Porgs. They were like, yeah, I get it, they're in there for humor, but like, at least the Porgs are basically a poor man's Ewok. Let's just get that straight. Are we gonna
compare them to Ewoks? I mean, they're totally different.
No, they're not, because they kind of serve the same purpose, except that Ewoks are actually integral to the plot. Right. Go watch, and Porgs aren't.
Caravan of Courage.
Yeah, Caravan of Courage, real important to the plot. Porgs didn't do anything for the plot other than just to be there.
They didn't need to do anything for the plot. That wasn't their purpose. They were there to be adorable.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I was just like, this is a waste of time that we could have spent. I mean, every second that a Porg was in there is a second you could have spent explaining some more about Snoke. No. So, which is more necessary, and which is a bigger criticism. People didn't criticize the Porgs. People are criticizing a lack of Snoke. You could have taken maybe 1 more minute and given us a little more, like 10 sentences about Snoke, and I think you'd probably have a lot less criticism of the movie. Porgs unnecessary. Are they cool? Yeah, I'm fine with them. I was just like, at least the Ewoks helped take down the Empire. The Porgs just.
I think you're comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, because I'll say I mean, look at who was piloting the Millennium Falcon at the end.
Right.
There.
It was Chewbacca.
A Porg. Well, it was unbelievable. I was like, how is he doing that? He's got the headset on and everything.
He's jamming. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
No, I did enjoy the Porgs though. They made me laugh.
Yeah.
I am more of a Reylo shipper now than I ever have been.
Yeah.
If you didn't feel that tension, then you are so lost.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because our good buddy Mike is not going to like this, but I want to spend a little bit of time on that, because I think that's really important. I mean, you're telling me they show a scene of him without his shirt on, right?
Yeah. Amen.
And I mean, great. I mean, I was happy too.
I don't know how you don't see Reylo at all. Like it's like if it was not obvious, I mean, the only reason it was unobvious in the last movie was because we were like, well, maybe they're brother and sister, right? Well, now
Right.
I think that's out the window.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know actually, but go ahead.
And so I think it's just like if she is just some random person, and then it's just like the idea of maybe the Force just brings them together, like that's cool. There's another thing about the Force doing weird things, right? Which is what I think they're going for in this trilogy. So
yeah, okay, yeah. So interesting about that. You remember when Princess Leia kisses Luke, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Brother and sister.
Correct.
So that could be throwing us off. Well, that could be what they're trying to do, which would be interesting. And if you go with George Lucas's original idea for maybe like a 7, 8, and 9, I was brother versus sister, and so that's kind of, and a lot of people believe that Rian Johnson was trying to take us that way, and then Leia was going to be there to sort of like, I don't know, she's the one who's going to have to deal with this in the end. And now, unfortunately, that's going to be really hard to do. But so they may change course here, but they definitely still could be brother and sister. It's going to be hard to do. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. But the idea of Reylo, though, is it's there and it's epic. I mean, I just, yeah, there's a connection. They have a Force connection. And I'm not so sure.
They do.
I know that, either I'm not so sure that I believe that Snoke is the one who maybe he's taking credit for what the Force had done. You know what I mean? I think that connection was there, and he spotted it in The Force Awakens, and then kind of uses that in The Last Jedi. So was my thinking on it, because I think that's I don't like the idea that Snoke then sets it up, and then when he dies, it's still there. I think it was there to begin with, and he taps into it and uses it, and which is another reason why I like what they did with Luke. I think the Force projection thing makes a lot more sense because we're exploring these new powers, and it was all sort of the theme of what they could do with their powers.
Yeah, so. they're pushing the Force beyond what's been done.
Yeah,
and I love that. I love that because it's getting us into new territory. This it needed to grow, right? And here we are. And whether it makes people uncomfortable or not, whether they're OG fans and they hate it, it's what's happening.
Yeah. So you're a big believer then. Reylo's happening.
I love it. Yeah. I absolutely love it. I mean, I thought there were, especially within the fight in Snoke's chambers. I really thought, something was going to happen there after everything was over, and there, he's reaching for her, he's telling her, join me. I really thought something was going to happen there. And
which, by the way, the fight in the chamber is like so. Yeah. That's where I talk about cinematography. It's like amazing. It's like beautiful. It's absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was epic. I mean, I felt it too when I can't believe I'm saying this, but like when Ben is reaching his hand towards her, even after he says, join me, and like almost I forget what he says, like we could rule together or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He hesitates and he says, please. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, and at that point I was like, I know that he's still on the dark side, but I was just sort of like, do it. Take his hand.
I was too. I was like, I don't really care at this point. Just go be together.
Is he on the dark side?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll bring it up. I have it in my looking into the future page. So.
Oh, cool. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. But we can talk about Snoke controlling that connection between them. The second time when you brought up the quote, the force of it would kill you. If that was Rey doing that. And that's the moment he realized, that Snoke was kind of being like a puppet master within all this.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy smokes, that's awesome. And, that's where, in my mind, where he decided, I'm taking him out. I'm over this.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that? When he says that the force of this would kill you, you're not doing this, and then we find out, oh, okay, well, it was Snoke that was kind of patching them together. At the end, have they learned, is the connection just that strong that they can still see each other, or is someone still patching them through to one another? is a mystery that I kind of want, and that's something I plan on theorizing about later and kind of getting into. But that's just really interesting, is it not? I mean,
yeah,
we have to explore the nature of the Force a little bit more. I believe the connection, like I said, was there before, and then Snoke just kind of like helped tie it together. And then the fact that Ben Solo or Kylo Ren is smart enough to figure out who it is, and maybe even knowing that Luke has shut himself off from the Force. That's what makes him so difficult to find, and that it could only be Snoke. Pretty cool.
I have a question about that. This whole idea of Luke shutting himself off to the Force. I mean, that's like saying, "Oh, I'm going to shut myself off from, I don't know, the sun or anything like that." You can't just shut yourself off from the Force. The Force will shut itself off from you. Like, I don't know. I just thought I get it's I know it's the idea of him being like, I want to get away from it all, but it's like, come on, I don't know.
Well, maybe he's so powerful that he can close himself out.
I like
Just
that, Tiffany.
speculate with me that he can close himself out from, forces like Snoke trying to, get, I don't know.
Oh, I believe that.
Get in his head. But maybe he truly wasn't turned off, but he says he is because he did maybe that piece of it.
Yeah. I know in the Legends books and different things, like there were actually animals and creatures that could block your ability to use the Force. And also the Yuuzhan Vong were creatures that you could not, the Force had actually, like Matt had said, they had cut them off. Like the Force itself saw them as so evil and so whatever that they cut them off. Also, in the Legends books, you could cloak your ability to use the Force to kind of sneak around and move around on people and things.
That's cool.
Which which is pretty cool. So yeah, there are different things that you can do with it. But I guess I'm more so. I thought when I first heard that is that Luke just chose not to use the Force. That he kind of abstained, almost like we're learning in the comics. It's called like the Barash vow or Bayrash vow that the Jedi Knights would take, and that was more actually to abstain from being involved in the Jedi Order, and they actually still were exploring the nature of the Force. But it's just like, could they take some sort of vow or something to kind of like not use the Force, maybe? So I don't know. Yeah. But anyways, okay. Yeah, what else you got?
Yeah. As far as pros go, seeing Yoda, Force Ghost.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I loved that Yoda's like, all right, she took the sacred texts. They're not in here. Let me just light this Force tree on fire and teach him a lesson.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely adored that moment. It was so good. Oh my God. I think this is my favorite moment from the movie. Luke's reaction to seeing R2.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
way he said R2. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
I know.
And I think we have to really thank R2 for, I think he was
once again, as I say over and over again, R2D2 is the most important character in Star Wars. He is
my
the one
favorite.
who saves the day every time.
Right.
I love him. He is my favorite droid. He's my favorite character. I love me some R2.
Yeah, he's the most. I'm a big believer in that R2D2 is the Force.
Dude, I would love that.
I mean, The Force Awakens, R2D2 awakens. Coincidence? I think not.
Yeah. Yep.
But that I think it's Luke's reaction to R2. It takes you back, and you're like, that the way that Luke said his name, it just took you back. Like, this is our Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you're absolutely right. That was one of the moments that I saw was like he sounded like it. Just everything that Mark Hamill did in that performance took you right back to the originals. And the other spot where he did that was when he interacted, the meeting between he and Leia was unreal. I felt like they were on the planet Moon, or they were on Endor, and they're in the Bright Tree Village up on the bridge or whatever there, talking to one another. And it just reminded me of that scene. And I'm just like, wow, this is awesome. So yeah, I'm with you on that. That was R2. Plus, we didn't get. I mean, you talk about needing to get more, of any character. It's like, man, can we get more R2? And C-3PO is really kind of, I mean, I get it. They got to pass the torch on to different characters and stuff. But
you know who we didn't get a lot of in this movie?
Who's that?
Is BB-8. Like,
not a whole lot.
I think of all the Star Wars movies, this is probably the least amount of droids we got in a movie.
Yeah.
Yep. You're probably right about that.
Droids are my favorite, so.
Yeah. There we go again. There's another criticism.
Oh.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the lesson of, failure. And I think that, being a teacher, I always tell my students it's okay to fail because the most learning happens there.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved that part of the movie.
Right.
And that you have to kind of go into like this like growth mindset where that things aren't always going to work out, but from your failures comes the most growth.
Yeah.
And
yep. I'm with you. That was a great theme, I thought, and it was neat to see Yoda still passing on what he's learned, and admitting his failures. It's almost like, Luke was super optimistic. You wish the Luke Skywalker that people wish they could have seen was when he had first created his academy and, and then he gets young Ben and trains him and he's doing great things in the galaxy and is probably well known, probably interacting with senators, very much like what we saw in Legends books. And so to see this Luke Skywalker when things have fallen apart, that Luke Skywalker that you wanted to see older, he was still there. We just didn't get to see that part of it. And hopefully we'll hear more about that in books and different things. But now we get to focus in on someone who is lost their way, in a sense.
So here's the thing. Do you think a lot of people are really, they're upset with this movie and the way that Luke was portrayed because it's hard to see your heroes have faults?
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of comments that I saw on some of our reviews, like especially the one we did, the Who's to Blame review, is that people were saying my biggest problem is how they treated Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad, Mark Hamill came out and did like this, he actually did it before the movies and leading all the way up to it. He never really said, the worst thing that he said was, I fundamentally disagree with, how we're portraying Luke Skywalker. Right. And he said that right before Celebration. And then shortly after he goes, guys, I haven't seen, any of the post-production. I haven't seen the music. I haven't seen any of this stuff. So I don't really know how it's all going to work. Those scenes between, like Rey and Kylo, those are really, even those two, I watched an interview the other day about how much happens in post-production that they don't really get to see that. You know what I mean? Like the acting there is unreal because I'm not even sure. I'd like to know, were they talking, could she see Adam Driver? Was he there? I don't know that he was, on set on Occ 2 talking to Rey. How did they do that? That'd be interesting to kind of see, but I'm with you. I mean, I know people were wanting to see that type of Luke Skywalker, but I got to see him come back again and contribute to the galaxy in a huge way. And
I think seeing him that way, it makes him more real. Yeah. I think it makes him more relatable as a character because no one's perfect. Even our heroes aren't. So I don't know. Well, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't what we were used to or what we were looking for or what we were anticipating. But I think it all worked out in the end. Yeah,
one thing I think people were really going into the movie they were hoping for would be that Yoda would apologize for the downfall of the Jedi and things like that.
As he should.
Right. See, there you go. And it's like, but really what came of it is that they did that through Luke. Luke was the apology, kind of saying, we had it wrong. We weren't doing things the right way. We didn't have a real good view of the Force. We let, Darth Sidious deceive us all and destroy things, and just... Which,
isn't that kind of weird, though, is because, like, Luke wasn't part of any of that. Like, it's not like Luke... Yes.
Well, I mean, he was. He fought the Emperor, and his father was,
Right, but it
wasn't his fault. He was a part of the Jedi Order, though, and was trained... Yeah. See, again, what will be interesting to see is, did he train his Jedi Order similar to how Yoda and Obi-Wan and those guys trained back in the day? Did he take younglings? We don't know. We really don't know. But he was trained by, I believe the Yoda that trained him, even in 5, was different than the Yoda that was deceived by Darth Sidious. Obviously, he had been learning from his faults and failures, and Qui-Gon Jinn taught us that too. Really. So it was just kind of neat to see him admit it. You never had someone actually come out and just admit that these things were flawed and that there were flaws in their beliefs. The dogmatic views of the Jedi. So
Yeah,
it hurts a little bit because Jedi. When the title of this came out, The Last Jedi, people were enraged, thinking that the Jedi Order would end. Like, people were like, you cannot do that. And I remember people were saying that over and over. This is ridiculous, and it's not over. You know what I mean?
No,
we just had to
not.
follow The Last Jedi for a little while, and we had to pass the torch, and we had to learn about the evolution of the Jedi, really.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What else you got there?
I just a couple more quick things, just a point to make. I love that it's still a family story,
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
and the floating rocks thing really cracked me up.
Yeah.
I enjoyed those.
Yeah.
Oh, and I haven't even talked about Poe.
Yeah.
I love the growth that he goes through, for this. What's her name? Is it
Hodo?
Holder?
Hodo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hodo.
Yeah.
Which
Hodor.
I bought the is it Hodor?
No.
Hodor.
Holdor. Okay.
Yeah.
Getting into another stuff. But,
Yeah.
I bought the Leia book because I heard that there's more information about her and Leia's
That's right.
friendship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just started that. But I love Poe's growth throughout this. And like you said, I think you said it in a previous episode, Leia, when they're, trying to escape, she says, "What are you looking at me for?"
Yeah.
And that's her kind of passing it on.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
And I really enjoyed that. So I wonder if they're going to take that somewhere with 9. She's passing it on then because she knows maybe they're going to turn it into, maybe she's not going to make it, maybe something,
Right. Yeah.
you just never know.
I
don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah, can I mention real quick what Mike and I talked about this in an episode that hasn't gone up yet, but we'll hear shortly, that Leia has always been, Leia and Han and Chewie, they've always been either doing their own thing, but most of the time it's getting back to the rebellion. They've always been on the rebellion / resistance side of things. And Luke and Vader, Luke's always over there doing his Force thing, right? And he's more of the Force-sensitive side of things and the lightsaber fighting and stuff, and she's in the big battles, in the big Star Wars. And I think what they were trying to do in this movie was to shift her to Luke's side, to shift her. She now has a son, who is, fallen to the dark side and who's Force-sensitive. And I think they were going to shift her to that side, and that was why they did that whole scene with Poe there at the end. It's like, yeah, she still is the leader in things, but it was like I foresaw the beginning of that movie kind of in 9 starting off as passing it off to Poe and think he had learned a lot, and they were, I guess more established, but like there needed to be new leaders, and she needed to step aside, and she needed to go deal with her son, and it was going to be something like that. So I don't know. Yeah, interesting.
Well, and I guess one of my other pros that I really, a striking moment from the movie is when she drives the ship into was it a Star Destroyer or a
they never really said what cloak, or it was Snoke's ship. Yeah,
but when there's literally no sound,
I know
it was such a powerful moment, and you were like, dang, like this. Like the resistance is like everybody. There's so much sacrifice and willing to sacrifice in this movie.
Yeah,
it makes you realize how important this cause is.
Right.
And I was really moving. I loved it. And then of course the battle in Snoke's chamber was absolutely epic, and I can't say enough about it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
dang.
that. I know, and I have more.
Oh, good.
Keep going.
Keep it going. Okay. So that's kind of like the end of the pros. There's so many more that I probably haven't thought of, but if you brought it up, I'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
I loved it. So the cons, not so cons. People were really disappointed that they didn't find out who Rey's parents are. but that just because Kylo says that they're nobodies doesn't necessarily mean that
they
that's
are.
true. Right. I mean, people are forgetting that, he's a manipulative person, and we don't know, is he lying to her? Is he not? So that's still, I don't think that's set in stone.
Real quick, just to, because we got critiqued on this big in one of our previous episodes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It is actually Rey that says they're no one. And then he says they're filthy junk traders, And so people were saying, no, she's the one who supplied that. How can you say that he lied to her? I still believe that may just be, that we still could be being lied to there, and that those are not really her real parents. Is that maybe she did know that she was raised by those junk traders, and she's always feared that those were her actual real parents, but she has this image of people leaving her. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out because people were like, no, it wasn't actually Kylo who, and maybe Kylo saw her parents, and that really wasn't her parents. You know what I mean?
Maybe, and he is pushing that idea on her, so maybe she's just like giving into that thought or her fear that they're no one.
Right, exactly. Yep, I'm with you on that.
Okay, so you just never know. As far as Snoke's story goes and who he is, it also doesn't mean that that's the end all be all for that story.
Yeah, right.
But it is going to be interesting if they do give us like some Snoke in the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can tell you, regardless of whether it was the plan or not, the comment section is going to be, oh, here they go, having to fix it because they messed up.
Yeah, what's funny? I don't think they're going to give us any Snoke at all. I actually think, and you know what? After seeing what they're doing and where they're gearing this up for, he was a plot device, and he's really just, it's to show that Ben Solo is this raw strength that Snoke saw and that Luke saw. It's like we keep talking about how strong and how powerful he is and how clever he is, but yet his training's incomplete, and he's all these things are still kind of holding him back. But there's these moments of like he can take on. He just outsmarted Snoke.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I don't know. So I actually think it's sort of like when people bring that up now, I'm kind of like, I guess I really don't care who Snoke is. I'm kind of like I'm more interested in. I want to see Ben Solo turn into the baddest baddie we've ever had, or come back to the light and save Rey or something crazy.
Yeah.
I don't really think Snoke necessarily had to be some big, huge like character. But I do think it's just kind of like we don't really. Like with the Emperor, like even if you just watch the original, you can like, okay, this guy is really the guy behind it all. Whereas like Snoke, it's kind of like because of where this begins, it's like, okay, how is this guy get here?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's kind of weird. Like I don't know if we necessarily needed a lot more on Snoke, like his backstory, all this kind of stuff, but it's just kind of like because we're coming from the original trilogy. And it's like, okay, there's this new empire. It's kind of like, well, who is this guy? How's he, So it is weird.
Yeah. It's just like sometimes we get built up with these like epic villain. This guy's an epic villain. And then it's like gone.
Yeah.
And you're just left wanting to know a little bit more. But, that's a device that they could be using for us.
Yep.
As, they want to build it up and then maybe hit us with it later. Or they won't, we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or he was just, a pawn in this story,
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then Luke says that he can't save Kylo, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean somebody else can't.
Amen. Come on. Yep.
Nope.
I don't like the idea that Luke can't save Kylo.
Well, he says it. Not me.
I find that difficult to believe.
No, I think it makes a
Luke
lot of
maybe
sense.
he's not the one to.
Luke also once said that he didn't think he could move, the X-wing and use the Force, and then he was wrong with that. So
yeah. I think the point is that and I think it's actually pretty clear that Luke has does truly believe that though, because he ignited his lightsaber. He's ashamed. You can clearly see the hatred that Ben Solo has for Luke. It's all about finding Uncle Luke and killing Luke. That's all that's where all of his rage and stuff is centered around, is that his great legendary uncle didn't believe in him, and so it's like that's why he gravitates towards his grandfather over his uncle, is that like that's where he's getting that felt like maybe there was more of a connection, or he's reaching out to Anakin, which is I was really hoping we get some more Anakin stuff in there, but
me too. Yeah.
So
all right. And then the rest are just a few questions that I have looking into the future.
Yeah, let's go. What do you got?
We doing anything else with Canto Bite?
No, probably not.
Is that over?
Let's
I
hope
mean,
so.
I didn't know.
Yeah. No, it's done. I don't think they'll.
We're not going to return.
No.
Okay.
I highly doubt it. I think we'll get another world, maybe one or two that kind of expand a little bit more and show us either, people in. Maybe we get the opposite side of that, and we see more people, like the Resistance freeing slaves and people in mining colonies and stuff like that. So yeah.
Just wondering what's Poe's role now that it was kind of passed to him. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, do you think he'll? Right now, when he at the beginning of the movie, he's a commander, and he's like demoted to captain.
Right.
But I think he's going to go to general. I think he's going to be.
I think so too.
A general.
Yeah.
So which would be really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. I will say real quick one thing. Go
ahead.
I forgot to mention one of the podcasts. In the trailer, the line, we got to be the spark that ignites the resistance. Like in the trailer, it seems like it's going to be so epic, but I feel like in the movie, it was kind of lost because it was like in between the whole like Luke business and then like Rey showing up, and so it's still a cool line. It didn't end up being as cool as I thought it was going to be from the trailer.
Well, maybe not that one line, but like that line is said. What, by 3 different characters, I think, or something?
Yeah, but like Pose was like the one that was like in the trailer, and it seems like it's going to come at this really epic moment.
Yeah.
Are we going to see Codebreaker DJ again?
Yes.
I loved his character. As much as he was like slimy, I enjoyed the stutter, and I don't know. I loved everything about it. He was a really cool character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll see him again.
Hux at the end of the movie there, he is a nasty creature, isn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Because he was going to take Kylo out, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to take him out.
Like I keep saying, I think that's the big.
That's going to be significant.
I think it's going to be something like Hux is going to kill Kylo and then Rey saves him, or something. I don't know. Maybe Hux kills Leia, or
Hux is going to be big in the next one, I think.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be big in this one, and that didn't happen as much as I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
Are we going to get any more porgs?
Yes.
You
better believe. You better believe.
It up.
You better believe we're going to get more porgs. If it makes dollars, it makes sense.
Oh, listen to you.
Yeah, no, I don't think we are actually. I think.
You think they're done?
No, I think.
Well, we have one porg though.
I think if they go.
Chewie has a porg pet.
Yeah, if we go back to Ankh 2, if we see her there briefly, we might see him for a couple
There will
minutes,
definitely be a porg in Episode 9.
I don't know if I think we're going to go back to Ankh. I mean, this is
Yeah. I never go back to Ankh 2, but there will.
I don't think we'll go back. Yeah, there's going to be at least one. I think.
Absolutely. I would bet money on the idea that there will be a porg in Episode 9.
Yeah.
What else do I got here? I didn't order my questions very well. I'm big hitter.
Oh, you're good.
For last. Okay, as far as the resistance goes, so they called for people, right? No one came, no one showed up. My speculation for the future of this is, Leia obviously has to die, and I think that's going to be huge as far as the fighting resistance. I mean, you still have a resistance, they just might not be battling. I think you're going to see a huge upswing in the numbers of the resistance because she has passed away.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that. I think, Matt, you and I played Battlefront.
Yeah, Battlefront. That video is going to be going up soon. The Battlefront campaign, actually, it ends with Iden Versio's daughter.
Oh, you're going to wreck it for me.
Oh, Well, it's like this is like the DLC. This is the DLC. Anyway, it just ends with
Okay.
it just ends with her daughter, Leia. So it ends like right at the end of Force Awakens.
Okay.
And Leia sends Aiden's daughter off to go find help. She's like, "Hey, we have some allies over here."
Gotcha.
So,
all right,
yeah.
cool.
Yep.
So that's just like a speculation of mine. I think, no one came this time, but I think once word gets out that Leia is gone,
yeah,
I think it's gonna be pretty epic.
Agreed.
I guess this is a little more speculation rather than question. I think we're gonna see maybe Luke as a Force ghost.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speculation.
95%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not think Phasma's dead.
Nope.
That role was way too small. I think there's more to it. At least I'm hoping.
I don't know, could be Snoke territory. So.
Right. I'm wondering what Rose's role is going to be.
God, hopefully nothing.
Oh, you're so rude. And then I'm nope, this is second to last. I want to see some training of some young Jedis.
Yeah.
In the end when we got all those children on Canto Bight, all those for better or worse slaves.
Yeah.
The kid rather,
yeah.
He pulls the broom to him using the Force, and I'm like, yes, let's do this. Let's get a whole new generation going and bring this back.
Right.
Yeah. I think Ez had said that he thinks the next movie may start like 10 years in the future, and it's like Rey has her academy and Kylo Ren has his, or something like that. I definitely
major showdown.
I definitely think that's an idea that is pretty plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Kylo, redeemable, or is he on villain?
Definitely redeemable.
Yeah. He's
I think that's going to be, I think when episode 9's over, that's going to be the entire bigger arc. Is that it simply comes down to the fact that in 7 he's struggling with the light side, and then he's like trying to stay on the dark side. So I think it's going to be the opposite of, say, like Anakin, who was struggling with the dark side and then went full dark side.
Yeah.
So.
I just think that, we saw so many instances of him fighting against the light. He doesn't kill his mother, his relationship with Rey. She sees the light in him, whether that's a manipulated thought or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I right now I'm 50-50. I think it could go either way. They're either going to make him that most epic villain, or he's going to come back at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm with you. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, because right now, Kylo Ren is the MVP of this trilogy. He's by far the most interesting character. He's super. Adam Driver is really good.
I love Adam Driver.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, he's fantastic. So, from a young, relatively fan, those are my thoughts.
That's awesome. I really enjoyed that. That was really good. So overall, I mean, have you given it any thought to like sort of where you rank it, or like a score or anything, or just leave us with an overall last impression, of like how you felt?
Yeah. So I guess if I were to rank it as far as like Star Wars movies, it'd probably go like around like I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. It wasn't my most favorite, but it wasn't my least favorite in any kind of sense.
Right.
I thoroughly enjoyed it as a fan that's kind of relatively new to everything, and I've got different ideas than some other people maybe, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I wouldn't walk out of the theater of it, and I wouldn't say I'm done with Star Wars, certainly.
Right. Yeah.
Good.
So,
well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. So we're just gathering again, different perspectives, from a certain point of view, right? Ideas on The Last Jedi and what have you. So, Tiffany, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Matt, thanks for hanging out with us want And when we come back, we're gonna be talking to our good buddy Lane Smith, and he'll have his perspective. But before we go, Tiffany, you want to plug your stuff? You're turning into a little, podcasting celebrity. Okay, if I can just throw that out there for folks, you're great.
I do have a lot under my name now, don't I?
It's wonderful, and I love having you on this show. It's great.
Let me tell you a little something. It is a dream come true to be on Rebel Watch. Let me just say.
All right, now.
So if you don't know me, I am on a podcast all about Harry Potter called Swish and Flick, and we are currently doing a reread of the entire series. We are on book 2, Chamber of Secrets, fairly early in chapters. I think chapter 2 was released today, actually. So you can check us out. We are going into all the nitty-gritty details, and it's a pretty epic podcast. So you can find us at Swish and Flick. We're on iTunes and Podbean. I also joined Matt weekly on Box Trick, all about video games. I am on the Nintendo portion of it, so I talk Nintendo. We do theories. We've been doing top 10 Mario stuff. Moving into Mario Kart pretty soon.
Yeah,
and that's where you can find. Apparently now you can find me on Rebel Watch.
That's right. Yeah. That is right. Thank goodness.
Yes.
Actually, Tiffany, I believe we might as well go and announce it right now while you're here.
Do it.
We're going to do a journey through Star Wars. So we're bringing Tiffany on actually for a kind of start with episode 1, move through. And once we're done with that, we look at legends, we'll look at different things, whatever really she wants, kind of just take us through, I don't know, maybe like a timeline of Star Wars, really.
As I said, I'm trying to learn everything that I can because I've discovered a new fandom that I have fallen in love with, and so I want to soak up every detail. So here we go.
Yep, that'll be sweet. So, all right, thanks so much. You guys know Matt. Matt, tell me where you can find you.
Do what? Sorry,
on social media.
Oh, you can find me. Oh God. Anywhere at Super Gains Bros, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, all that stuff, as well. And right here on Rebel Watch, Ezra and I also do a kind of hodgepodge podcast called Second Breakfast, where we talk Game of Thrones, Dragon Ball Super, movies, comics, all that kind of stuff. And then, as Tiffany already mentioned, Box Trick. So yeah.
Sweet, guys, we might have to honestly consider that whole networking.
As Tiffany said in the last episode of Box Trip, we're kind of becoming this like Greater Ohio. What's the word one of our users recommend, or one of our fans recommended, Tiffany? I believe he said the Great Lakes Pod Patrol.
Pod Patrol, yeah.
Yeah.
So. We're just a podcasting powerhouse right now.
Jesus. That was hilarious. That was a great name. I loved hearing it. That was really funny. So
it's pretty cool. We might have to adopt it.
We might have to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. When we come back, we'll be talking to Lane Smith, and we'll get his perspective on The Last Jedi. Stay tuned. All right, folks, and we're back. We now have with us Lane Smith, fellow podcaster from Talkin Tolkien. How's it going today, buddy?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing well. And I'm glad I have you back on the show here. Last time we had you on Rebel Watch, you were on Star Wars Trivia Trials with your wife.
I'm trying to redeem myself a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to, because I think my opinions are probably in line with my affinity for Jar Jar Binks, but I wanted to give it another shot. I wanted to try to come back on and not be hated.
Right. Okay.
So,
that's good.
Yeah.
So you're ready to redeem yourself. I like it.
Yes, and thank you for having me again, and thanks for having us on the trivia trials too. Sarah and I love that. I mean, she enjoyed kicking my butt, but it was a lot of fun to do that. It was cool.
Right. If you guys haven't seen that and you're listening, definitely go check out Star Wars Trivia Trials. I think it was episode 1. So
there's some softballs or some softballs that you toss my way.
There's some nudity on that episode, though. There's some. To full disclosure, there's some nudity, and we just need to.
There is.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Naked.
I know. I don't. That was. I don't think I ever heard that quote before. I mean, I think the first time I ever heard that, well, it came from a character I can't stand, so maybe that's why I never paid attention to it. Yeah, that's why.
All right, buddy. So we're talking The Last Jedi. This is our big January episode here. It's called From a Certain Point of View. So we're kind of taking different points of views on The Last Jedi. And I guess I just wanted to get your initial, reaction. What were your initial thoughts when you came out of that theater?
I went and saw it with my wife. We saw it for on the 15th, right? So we saw it like that Friday afternoon. We went right after school, where we were really excited for it, really looking forward to it, and our initial reaction was that we loved it. Like, I loved this movie.
Yeah.
I know a lot of unexpected things happened. A lot of stuff that I wasn't even expecting to happened. Yeah. But to me, I think you guys said it best on Rebel Watch It when you said, you know, there was a Star Wars box, right?
Yeah.
And they expanded the box. You know, you said they went outside of it and they expanded it, and that's exactly what they did. And I think a lot of people who were upset by it, and maybe I can't really. I'm not a diehard Star Wars fan. I'm a huge fan of the films. Like, I love the films, but it's not my number one. It's not my, like, Lord of the Rings is my number one, my number 2, my number 3, and my number 4, and my 5. Right. So I don't really have a top 5.
Right.
But so I'm not as attached to it that way, I guess. Like, if a character decision is made for Luke, and it's not what I always, for the last 40 years, envisioned, I'm not going to be as upset. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't really. So my perspective is going to be way different from like original trilogy fans. But I loved it. I thought it was cool. I thought I was on my toes the entire time. I had no idea what was going to happen next. And anytime, it's one of the first times I've been in a movie for a long time where I was making predictions. I'm like, that's got to be what's going to happen. This is happening next. Every time I was wrong. And I was like, yeah, that's why he's a director and I'm not. That's why.
Yeah,
Ryan Johnson is getting his own trilogy.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there's a reason. Yeah.
There is a reason. Yeah.
So
and I'm with
reaction,
you.
Initial reaction was I loved it. I'd put it in my top 3 Star Wars, maybe top 2.
Wow.
Yeah, loved it.
Bold. That's bold. That's awesome. Yeah. So now, how many times did you watch it? Did you watch it just the once, or have you watched it twice?
I wanted to get back and see it another time. We saw it just the once.
Yeah.
Because like 4 days later, we had our daughter was born. So we've been living the home life ever since. So we didn't get back out to see it again. But I mean, as soon as it comes out on Blu-ray or whatever, we'll scoop it up and watch it again. But
right.
Yeah, just the one time, and the one time was definitely wasn't enough to process everything. But I don't know. With my initial reaction, I almost kind of wanted to let it sink in for a little bit and hear other people's reactions, and then think about my opinions. Yeah. Let them. It's one you got to let marinate a little bit too.
Right. I agree.
You got to watch it and then just sit back and think, and then go watch it probably a second and third time to confirm, because sometimes you misremember stuff. But yeah, just the one time, just once.
No, and that's fair. I mean, that obviously, congratulations, by the way. You know, having a baby, big deal. Glad you guys are everybody's healthy, right?
Yeah, baby's great. Awesome. Little Winnie Sue, she's beautiful.
That's awesome. Good. Yeah. So I mean, there are layers to this film, though, right? So you had to kind of, you know, it takes a little while to get through this and think back. And I've done a lot like you have, gone and listened and watched YouTube videos, listened to podcasts, and trying to, you know, hear what people have to say about this film. And
it is cool. Yeah.
There's goods. There's pros and cons. There's it seems people are kind of divided on this, though.
They are.
You know?
They are. And so maybe being more of a, like I said, I don't know the expanded universe. I don't know the books. All I know is the films, really. And some of the, like, I know Kyle Katarn. I love Kyle Katarn.
Right. Yeah.
I was kind of actually hoping Del Toro was going to be an old Katarn.
Yep.
Hey, maybe we don't know his name, right? Maybe Katarn fell on hard times. Yeah. Had some kind of trauma, developed a stutter. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe that the Jedi Temple falling really messed him up. I don't know.
That would.
So I don't know. Yeah, my perspective is different that way. I don't have all that deep and sweaty knowledge, as you guys call it. So for me, it wasn't so harsh. Like, I wasn't all the way in, all the way out. I watched it for what it was, and I thought it's great. So it's very interesting to hear like other people's opinions too, because I can understand both. Yeah. I think it's cool that people are having discussions about it. What bothers me is when people like are so affected by it that they're not going to be fans anymore. Like, that's the part that's really sad to me. Is I think as different as it was, I mean, like George Lucas coming out and saying he loved the film, the actors saying, you know, at first I hated it, I had no idea where this was going to go, and then seeing it and thinking he knew what he was doing. I don't know. I mean, I just think that's pretty sad, like that it's going to affect you that much that you leave your fandom. But I guess I can also understand that too. If you had all this expectation build up, and that's the problem, man. If your expectations are too high, you're always going to be disappointed. Especially, I mean, just in life in general, but especially with films, and then not only that, but like consequential films. Like nothing could ever be as good as A New Hope, right? Because it blew everybody out of the water.
Right.
And then nothing will ever be as good as Empire Strikes Back because it had the quote-unquote biggest twist of all time in cinema. And nothing could be as good as the original trilogies because they came first.
Right.
You know, so
when
you start comparing and having expectations like that, you're always going to be disappointed. So, but that's a hard thing to do as a fan, to not build that up because you're so invested in it, and you in your mind know the perfect way, you know exactly how it's supposed to go, how Luke Skywalker should be depicted. And so if that doesn't match up with your thought and your study and your passion, then that would be upsetting. That would be hard to like deal with. So I understand that too.
Absolutely. I think a lot, like you said, it was kind of they had done something that was close to perfect with the originals, right? And there's this big fear even before they went and did the prequels, and then to go after that, there's this big fear, like, guys, we can't replicate that, you know?
Right.
That's you know, that's never going to happen again. I mean, that was a one in a million. So,
and it shouldn't be. And that's the thing that is also kind of frustrating too. And that's where I feel that with The Hobbit, right? I love Lord of the Rings. We talked about this for hours on end. About how the Hobbit trilogy, while I do think there's some things that they should have changed and should have considered, it will never live up. So I think it could have been executed a little bit better. But I think everyone says that about prequels. Everyone does. Right. And so, but that's the same kind of thing, is you shouldn't compare the original or what comes after to the originals. You shouldn't do it because you're never going to enjoy it. Right. You got to let it be its own thing. You got to let it stand on its own and see how it fits into the timeline. But that's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to do. So I understand both sides of that. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. So let's do something kind of neat here. Let's dive in to the film, I guess, a little bit nitty gritty wise. And I'll kind of take you through some of it and see just what you liked, what you didn't like.
Hold my hand, baby.
Yeah, I got you here. I got you.
The force guide me.
Yeah. So one of the big things was like, let's just talk about the plot. So how this film sort of developed, the exposition, and then sort of the rising action climax, and then resolution, that story element, right? Piece.
Yeah.
What did you like about that? Did you like the flow of it? I
did actually. The one thing I was, this is something really small and stupid that, ultimately I realized they couldn't have done this. I was really hoping that it would be so different, and see, people are going to hate this. I was hoping it would be so different that we wouldn't even have an opening crawl at the beginning. I was hoping we would go literally, and we talked about this, and I think you guys talked on the show, you're like, that can't happen. You got to have a crawl, which I understand now. Right. But I was thinking, like, how cool would it be to literally pick up, because you always have that little gap of time, to literally pick up right where one left off. I mean, that would just be like pretty sweet.
Right.
So I was a little disappointed by that, but I saw how it worked. I saw how the crawl set up for the what do they call it? The resistance and the First Order, having that conflict, getting us back into there, and then taking us back to Octu. But yeah, no. Overall, I thought it was great. Trying to think here.
What about that? So like our rising action was all of that, build up. I think to kind of, it was almost like we had two climactic
climaxes, weren't there?
Scenes. Yeah, it was kind of a neat. I like that. I like when films do that. It's not like they didn't keep us in suspense clear until the very end with Luke and Kylo. It was like we had a really tense moment with Snoke. So I guess let's get to that moment. First.
It was almost like and that almost kind of felt like it was brilliant in the way it was executed, because I think it was almost like a false climax. Everyone's thinking the whole climax is going to be with Snoke, right? And that you're going to have Kylo and you're going to have Rey involved, and like Luke's going to sweep in and save the day, kind of a thing.
Right.
So everyone was expecting us, and as soon as we entered that scene, I mean, I remember the theater getting hush when that happened. We were like, oh gosh, here's how it's going to go down.
Right.
Luke pulled his X-wing out of the water, and he's going to be running into the base and kicking Snoke's ass. But it didn't happen. So I kind of liked it, because it was this like build up to what you thought was going to be a climax. And here again, it went with the whole theme of the film. this isn't going to go the way you think it will.
Right.
Right. The
That's
way
right.
you expect.
Right.
And it's just amazing how I've never seen a line in a theme repeated so much in a film that had so many, like you've talked about, so many layers.
Yeah.
Just almost everything. Like the plot of the film didn't go the way we expected.
No.
Luke's development didn't go the way we expected. The revelation of who Snoke is didn't go the way we were going to expect. The way we expected.
Right.
Same with Rey. Same with Finn's storyline.
Exactly.
And that's one you guys have talked about. I totally agree with. Like, I guess I kind of get what they were trying to do, but my reaction after this film was I missed Finn. I felt like Finn went away, and he did some cool stuff. I guess whatever. Like we went to the Wolf Derby or whatever. That was sweet. What was that planet called again? Las Vegas.
Canto Bight. Yeah.
Canto Bight, right?
Canto Bight, yeah.
And that was cool and everything, but it just felt so, like you guys said, so removed. Felt kind of forced.
Right.
So I felt like I missed Finn.
Yeah, me too.
I also some of the way the plot happened with Poe and what's purple hair lady?
Oh, Holdo. Yeah, Holdo.
Holdo, that's right.
Yeah.
The tension there and like the just, it's okay. So maybe in hindsight you get all this realization of why things happened, and so maybe Canto Bight will make more sense in the next film. And because the conflict with Holdo made more sense because they were testing him, right? They were testing Poe. Like when Poe's under pressure, what's he going to do? Is he going to act rashly, or is he going to learn to develop a cooler head?
Right.
You know, because that's the whole plays into the whole age theme of, you know, when you're younger, you react.
Right.
You don't consider everything. You don't trust. When you're older, you find ways to develop those things because you realize anytime you act, or most of the time when you act too quickly, it's a mistake. So,
right.
Yeah, the biggest thing I'd say is probably I missed Finn, but I hope that there's a bigger reason for that. I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of problems
with the film. Yeah, well, we can get into. Yeah, well, we'll bring up a few, and I'll kind of get what your reaction, you know, on those. But so we were talking about that Snoke climax, right? And you were saying how you thought maybe Luke. I was thinking the same thing. Luke is walking in here, and it's going down, and it did not happen that way. And
no.
And you're right. I mean, we've said this before. Is that the theme of, you know, this is not going to go the way that you expect? That was clear.
Yes.
And then I like how you termed it a false climax in a sense. It was very awesome, epic scene.
Yeah.
And a lot of actually subtle development, not directed in your face, but development for Kylo Ren and for Rey.
Oh my gosh,
but
yeah.
It wasn't directly in your face, right? And then we had to push forward to the point where we almost forgot that, like, I was kind of like, what's going on here? Like, I mean, when is Luke coming back? Because I was like, this is just so bizarre. But then when she said we have allies in the Outer Rim, you know, when Leia said that, I was like, And then they said none of them have responded, and I was like, okay.
Did you before that? Did you almost think that Luke wasn't coming back? I almost for like maybe 10, 15 minutes, I was like, dude, maybe Luke is just done. Like, people are going to be really mad. Maybe he'll pop up in episode 9, but maybe he's done with episode 8. Like, I thought maybe he was just going to, I don't know, he wouldn't be able to overcome his, I mean, obviously once he had that conversation with Yoda, which was one of the best. I love that they used the puppet. I loved everything about that scene. It felt like, to me, I actually got kind of teary. Like, I got kind of emotional during that scene. I was like, this is, and even what they talked about, you know, he brought up again. I went back and we watched Empire Strikes Back, and I didn't realize that even then there was that theme of, it must have gotten lost on me when I was younger, but that theme of Skywalker always looking to the horizon. Right. You know, even one of the first scenes we see with Luke, he's looking out at the horizon at the Twin Suns, wishing he was somewhere else. Yep. Wishing he was something else. And it was just so cool to see that interaction. And so anyway, so once you had that moment, you're like, well, Luke's obviously not done. Like, Yoda just spurred him in the right direction, so it's something's going to go down.
But then
for a minute, I was like,
that happened before the Snoke fight scene, and you were thinking, you know, okay,
that's true.
That happened. Yeah. So obviously, you know, Yoda has talked to him. He's coming back in, and then when he didn't, I get why people were like, maybe he's just coming back in 9. You know, but
right.
You know,
right. Yeah.
I don't know. As soon as I sort of felt, I heard them asking for allies and help, and it seemed like there was no, you know, way out, you know,
hope.
like a back door. I was like, oh, that okay. he's coming back. You know, it was,
Yeah.
and like when I saw him, the way they set it up, and he walks out and literally faces down the entire, you know, First Order with a laser sword, I lost it. I was like, this is epic. I mean, that was the one epic moment that I needed. Were there any, you know, moments in this that you thought going into it, like, I have to see X, Y, and Z? Like, I need to see this as a fan, or, you know?
Well, okay, not as specifically as like you or Mike would have.
Yeah.
Or even Matt would have. You know what I mean? I always love the Kylo and Rey scenes. Mm-hmm. They just always keep me on my toes. I was looking forward to any kind of scene they had. Like, I love Daisy Ridley's an amazing actress. I love Adam Driver. They're unreal. So like anytime they're on the screen, it's just like
magic.
I feel like I'm watching a play.
Yeah.
And actually, Adam Driver has a theater background, so you can that comes straight through in the films, and it just makes it even more captivating. Right. So those scenes were great. I didn't really have any expectations. I would have loved. I guess maybe the one thing is I was really hoping for like a Luke Snoke battle, like everyone else was.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that would have been too predictable, obviously, for this film. Saying that in hindsight, and it would have been too much like, I don't know, like he's back and he's taking on the Emperor again or something. I don't know. Like I think it would have. I think for Kylo's character development, he had to
face
best Snoke. Like,
best
not
Snoke.
Only,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean he had to. That had to be his job.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I didn't really have. I was honestly, I lowered my expectations going in. I was like, I'll take this in for what it is, and if I had that mindset, I'm probably going to be pretty excited and thrilled with the result.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't have any specific wants or hopes.
Yeah. So you just went in pretty open-ended. You just were like, I just want to go in and enjoy it, you know?
Yes, but that's not to say I wasn't anticipating it. Yeah. I don't want that to be like misunderstood. I mean, I listen to your guys' predictions like obsessively. Like if I didn't have anything else to do, I'd pop on your podcast and listen to, you know, your theories, speculations, you know. And so I was really dug in that way. Like I knew what people were thinking, and I had a pulse on what people were predicting was going to happen.
Right.
So and I thought all that sounded great. Right. But when Mark Hamill started saying, like, he went in and he talked to Rian Johnson and said, I fundamentally disagree with everything you've done with my character. And I think everyone thought it. They were like, okay, so we can make predictions all day long. Right. They're probably not going to be right. If Mark Hamill is surprised with the way this story goes and how his character develops, we're going to be even more shocked, right? I mean, this dude is Luke Skywalker. So if he's going to be surprised, we're going to be blown away too. So I had all that in my mind, what people thought was going to happen. Didn't have any really, you know, expectations of my own, but I also realized like it's probably going to be insane. And you confirmed it because you texted me the night you went and saw it Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
And you said, none of our predictions. So I had that going into it too. I guess you said nothing we predicted happened, and I was like, whoa. And I think a lot of people would probably, well, maybe not, maybe not, but I could see that as being like, oh, dang, man, I really wanted to see this happen, or I was really getting excited for this, but I was like, it just made it more intriguing to me. Mm-hmm. I was like, holy crap. And part of it too is I think like there's so much regurgitation, and there's so much. I mean, there's rebranding, and there's like rebooting of all these movies. Just so boring, dude. Like every comic book movie is the same now. Like I know a lot of people won't agree with that, but they all feel the same to me. There's so much stuff that just feels jaded, and so it was the exact opposite of that. Right. And anytime I hear something's going to be super different, it's got my money. Yeah. Like I'm going to go watch because that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for this movie was pretty much this. But just with this character. Okay, cool. Then why don't I just go watch that other movie? Right.
Well, so on that note, do you think this is then like the Star Wars like reset? People have been talking about this maybe being like the reset button for Star Wars.
I think, sure. Yeah. I mean, that sounds right to me. There are definitely things like nothing's new under the sun, right? You're not going to create a movie that's just totally standalone, never been done before. So there were definitely things that you could see that, like you said, like when you guys have talked, there were like elements of episode 6 in there. There were elements of episode 5. There were parts of episode 2 that were like strangely similar.
Right.
And so I think maybe the cocktail they created will help for make it like a reset button. I definitely thought it was refreshing.
Yeah.
I even are we going to talk about the humor too later on? Or
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can talk about that later. But I even like that. So
the humor, well, let's talk about the different things, because I wanted to talk about. I guess I want to talk about humor. I wanted to talk about the different force powers. Because those are different. It's like let's dive into that, because like the nature of the force is explored in this film, and it takes us further than we've ever thought possible.
And I don't know if okay, so I know a lot of people were thrown off by it, and I was especially like the Leia thing. I was like, what?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is this? But I don't know if that's Rian Johnson's fault so much as it is previous films, like not exploring the Force enough.
Right.
Like maybe there was this lack of. I mean, we saw Force lightning, we saw Force push, Force jump. All right, cool. And it's like video game stuff. Like we didn't see the Force expressed in ways. Even it felt like an indie film when Rey is having that like connection with the Force, and Luke's talking her through it, and she's seeing all this. I mean, it looked like an Aronofsky film when she's seeing like the creatures born, the creatures died. I can't remember everything, but it was just like life and death balancing itself.
Right.
And I was like, we've heard it kind of alluded to, but we've never seen that like direct connection
visually,
to
too.
The Force is in, visually.
Yeah.
And that the Force is in everything.
Right.
And I think that sometimes the Force is kind of jokey because it's like Rey said, she's like, lifting rocks or, floating rocks.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
That's not all it is.
Right.
And so I think it was fitting too that Luke was the one that took us through that he showed us, the Force is much more than just that. Yeah. So we saw Leia do that thing, right? Where she I thought she was gone too. And I honestly, for a second, I thought since Kylo didn't shoot her and saw someone else shoot her and kill her, I was like, dude, she's dead. Hey, she's not coming back. She's dead. And that's how they fixed the tragedy of like Carrie Fisher passing away before 9.
Yeah.
But it's also going to bring him to the light side. Like he's going to see that someone else. Like I think if he would have killed her, then he's totally all in the dark side.
Right.
But if she actually was dead and he saw someone else kill her, I mean, like someone killing your mom, that's pretty primal. You're gonna rebel against whatever side did that. So, but the fact that she is alive now, obviously he's pretty far gone. So I thought it was interesting. I thought like you guys have said. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything new. I thought it was kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was strange, but only because we've never seen anything like that. And so I think maybe that's the problem, is that we haven't never seen anything like that. But here's how it worked for me.
Yeah.
Because we're told all along, Leia is Force sensitive. Yoda even says it when Luke runs away,
That's
and Obi-Wan's like, "That boy was our last hope."
Right.
And Yoda's like,
"No,
forget him. There's another one."
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're thinking, and we know how strong Luke was with the Force, so we're thinking, all right, well, Leia has to be, and the twins too. So biologically, you'd think they'd be pretty equal Force users. But we've never seen her do any other than like the connection with Luke and communicating with Luke. But I would say that's pretty. Maybe it's not, but that seems like on the lower end of Force usage.
Well, here's the thing. Is that what I think people have missed a little bit is that so those two are communicating across a great distance, and Vader does it with Luke, and you actually see visually. You see, like they did it the same way that they did it in. They added to it eventually. Like eventually, the two touch. Rey and Kylo touch.
Right.
But
which was cool.
In Episode 5, I mean, Vader, says Luke, and Luke's like, "Father," and it's like, wait, they're talking to each other. They just took that, and you have to be strong in the Force, to do those things. They kind of took it in a way that was like more the Force projection stuff versus just, telekinesis or communicating through, the mind.
Yeah, telepathy.
Thank you.
Yeah. But the way that Leia's like, the way she like saved herself kind of and revived herself made sense to me is because as far as we know, that's the only Force stuff she's done. She's done like that telepathy stuff. And so maybe if she has that ability, I don't know. And this probably isn't how the Force works, and someone will probably be upset with it, but that's okay. I don't know. It just makes sense as like a fan of the movies.
Yeah.
Like maybe that was all built up inside of her, right? That ability was accumulated, and that energy was just like stored up in a huge Force bank inside of her.
Yeah.
Then in that moment, maybe not necessarily. I think I like the way you say it best. She didn't do that. The Force did that.
Yeah.
Right. The Force like revived her, resurrected her almost, and brought her back in.
Right.
So visually it was weird. Mike had a great idea, I thought, of when you guys had your reactions when he was talking about. It may have even been more satisfying to see her blown out, sucked out, she's dead, and then later she just shows up. But I think people would have had I would have liked it too. But I think people would have had problems with that too. They would have been like, well, that doesn't make any sense. How did she come back?
How did she? Right.
So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like
Right.
if you show how she revives herself, oh, that's weird and forced and awkward. If you
Right.
don't show that she's revived, how did that happen? That makes no sense. That doesn't go with anything we've ever seen before. And if you kill her, you're damned too, because she was in 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I think with all the expectations, he did a pretty good job of that. So
yeah,
that was cool.
And seeing what they did with the rest of the film, there was no way that they could have, gone back and fixed that and like killed her off there or whatever, taken her. And it would have been so disrespectful, I think, too. Like, we have to get past this idea that, once she passed away, we have to go back and fix the film. No, she did an awesome job in this film. And like her meeting with Luke Skywalker at the end, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher at the end is beautiful. Beautiful,
dude, and it was. They filmed it perfectly. And you guys nailed on the head when you said, like even Hamill's voice, which changed over time, right? I mean, he's done the Joker's voice so long that it's more gravelly and it's older than it used to be,
right?
But like he slipped right back into that, like
he summoned it. Episode
tone,
6.
That tone tone you have with your sister, right? You talk differently to your sister. You talk differently to your wife. You Then if you're talking to some young punk you're trying to train or whatever, or someone who's bothering you, getting the time of your stealing your green milk time, you know what I mean?
That's right.
And so that was beautiful to see, like, and even like, the I know what you're gonna say. I changed my hair. Like it was the right amount of homage. It was the right amount of nostalgia without feeling forced. And I even think I know a lot of people have problems with Episode 7, but I even think Abrams did a really good job of balancing that. Bringing in new stuff, and then paying homage to the old, and then also kind of making it humorous at the same time, like the way kids get excited about meeting their heroes and stuff. So, it was cool. It was cool.
What did you think? No, you're good. What did you think about it? Because a lot of people that listen, we talk about Reylo on this show a lot, as much as Mike doesn't like it. We talk about it, and
Mike secretly does like it. He just doesn't want to admit it.
He's a secret Reylo.
I'm calling Mike Solo out. I think he wants Reylo to happen.
Me too.
I think it's so weird and like maybe like frustrating in a weird way, but I think he wants it. I think you want it, Mike.
I'm gonna sneak into his bedroom and take pictures of all the posters he has around his room because he's like making his own fan art and stuff.
Dude, he's got like a Kylo Ren poster and a Reylo poster, and they're facing opposite directions, but he's got them next to each other, looking at each other.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? This Force connection that they have. Like, just the way that was done. It's I guess kind of it's hinted at. It's mentioned in Legends, material, but like for the films, like this has never been really done. So the Force connection, or just their possible like love thing? Well, let's do Force connection first, and then we'll talk about the Reylo relationship.
Okay.
Because the idea with the Force connection is that like the Force has somehow kind of joined them together, right? For some reason, it's there. I don't believe that Snoke like attached the two threads together. I think he
that might have been
it.
his manipulation.
Right.
Yeah.
He might have strengthened it and stimulated it, but it was there in The Force Awakens. So
it's got me kind of confused, right? Because that kind of, like we just talked about, that happened with Luke and Leia, and they're twins.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They're siblings.
Good point.
That's kind of weird. It also happened we've seen it happen with Vader and Luke, and that's father and son. So that's also kind of weird. And so it makes me wonder, like, is there a precedent for that kind of connection and your bloodline? Like, does that matter?
Yeah.
I don't know, but that it definitely suggests, I mean, this is going to be like the most obvious statement ever. It definitely suggests some sort of intimacy or desire for intimacy, either from those individuals or the Force or both, right? I mean, why else would it be happening?
Right.
And they have to be, I would think they'd have to be receptive and open to hearing that. Because at first, like when they have that moment, like she's like in that cave or whatever, right? And he's shirtless with his pants up by his nipples, kind of hanging out, right? And resting up or what after he saw Snoke or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not like it doesn't just like blast them in the face. Like it's not like, it seems like something they could have missed if they were either not tuned into the Force or preoccupied with something else. So, yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know what that is. I mean,
here's my quick take on it. It's like the connection is there, but every time it would come up and it would crop up, and they would be in unexpected, situations, right? They'd be
sure.
He had his shirt off, she's doing something else, and it's just like, really, this is happening now. That was Snoke. I believe that was Snoke, sort of saying, okay, boom.
But afterwards, you're talking about when she's in the okay,
right. So the line is already there, like the connection. You can sense it from Kylo in The Force Awakens. There's something there. He feels a connection to her. And that was all kind of hinted very subtly at there. And then in this, it's taken a step further. And actually, when you read the novelization and you realize that Rian Johnson probably read that and also wrote the script before The Force Awakens came out, it makes sense that he kind of saw some of this subtle connection and then decided, let's take it a step further. But then Snoke is also in tune to the Force and is going to notice it and manipulate it and use it. So he's manipulating it in a way that causes them to really have to face each other, So
right, yeah.
But
and so I guess they probably feel just as confused as we do, right? I'm sure they don't. I mean, they don't know why it's happening. Like Kylo even says, "Wait, you're not yet." That moment you guys talk about when he says, "You're not doing this," like that would kill you.
Right. The Force of this would kill you.
How's this happening? Right.
Right.
So dude, I don't know. I mean, are they like? I don't know.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's meant to be kind of mysterious. You know what I mean? Is it because at the end it's like Snoke is dead and they're still kind of.
Right, and they're still doing it.
Still there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Now,
and I do love how they did. Sorry, one more thing. I do love how they God, I love the creative or the confusing tension they created though. Yeah. When it's like there's this weird moment where they're connecting, and then you're like, what are they gonna like? They're gonna like yell at each other? Are they gonna start like making out? What's gonna happen? And then like Luke busts in like a dad catching his teenage girl. It was bizarre. It was a weird like tension they created. So and I think the other thing, God, I mean, I don't know. It seems like more people should be satisfied with the film because he kind of like titillated every desire people had.
Yeah.
Like that fed right into the Reylo thing. Like that, people who want them to fall in love and have kids, and that, and also like when he was trying to manipulate her into joining him to rule the galaxy together. And I thought for a second, I was like, I didn't pick up on until you guys and Sarah illuminated me to the fact. I was like, I thought he was genuine. I didn't really sense a lot of forced manipulation there, but I see that now in hindsight. But I was like, I wanted her to. I was like,
I know.
Create something new, because we've been building this whole gray side of the Force, this whole new, not light, not dark, something different. And that would go with this wasn't what it's not going to go the way you expected, and let's see what would happen from that. But and then again, I don't think it would have worked. So yeah, I think the way that he built all that tension was it was brilliant. And like when they touch hands too, it's like what is going on?
What is going on? Yeah, I mean, so now to the romance, right? I mean, it's the Force connection's there. We've talked about that, and we've talked about how maybe it's Snoke, maybe it's just something the Force is doing. But like what in the? I mean, they're touching hands. He saves her. Is it for his own? Like I think he wanted to take down Snoke anyways. I think that's just a thing. He wanted to best him, and you're right about that. But then he does it at a moment where he saves Rey. And then he says, when he says, join me, I love Adam Driver. He's like, he's telling her to join him and things. And at the very last thing he says is, he goes, please. I'm like, I'm like, that's what I was like, do it.
I know.
Just take his hand.
And that's the thing. Like he had us sold, didn't he? I mean, if I'm Rey, I'm going, yeah, bud, let's do it. I'm with you. Like he's a very convincing manipulator.
Right. He is. And I mean, I think a part of it is it's 50-50. Half of it is genuine. I think he wants Rey. I think he does desire her.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So I don't think they're siblings. I don't think they're related. Yeah. And I think she actually is no one. And, I think that is kind of like I've had to accept that. I keep thinking to myself, well, at one point I said maybe Kylo lied to her, but then she's the one who does supply the answer of,
right,
I'm no one, right. They were no one.
I'm nobody. My parents were nobody. Yeah. And we talked about this too, I think before, like on the phone after I saw the movie.
Yeah.
We were like talking about how, and how people who are frustrated about that are the ones that are, they're hung up on the fact that it's all about Skywalkers and it's all the same family and everything. But I think Anakin was nobody. He came from nobody.
Right.
Right. I mean, we don't know who his father is. His mom's a slave. Not that doesn't mean she's not no. In terms of like the way the galaxy views her, she's a nobody.
Right. Exactly.
And so, the Skywalker line kind of started there, right? With him from nothing. And so it makes sense that it would finish, if it does finish with Rey, that it would finish with someone who's from nothing. Yeah. Right. And in that way, she kind of is a Skywalker. Like, right. I mean, so, and especially if we find out I guess we don't see. The other thing that's weird too is when she steps when she has that cave scene and she looks in that mirror thing and it's like just herself over and over again. So is she a clone? Was she was she conceived by the Force just like Anakin? And in that way, would they be like then indirectly related? Because if that's really how, I guess we don't. Is there any confirmation on how Anakin was conceived? Or is that true that it was from the Force?
The Force,
or is that just always been speculated on?
People have other theories and ideas as to how they think it happened. Was it Plagueis? Was it somebody else? But I think it was the Force. As Shmi Skywalker said, she can't explain it. It just happened. There was no father.
It just happened. Like the virgin birth with Jesus.
It is a virgin birth.
That's what that's an allusion to.
Yeah.
Right. So, so I don't know. Yeah, that would. And that was frustrating, but especially in that moment, because we all wanted it to be Luke, or we all wanted her to be like Obi-Wan's granddaughter,
right?
Or somehow I never understood like Kylo's sister, because I think Han and Leia would have reacted way differently to her, and she interacted with both of them previously. That'd be pretty damn cold if you were just like, kid, you want to work for me for a little bit? You're actually my daughter, but that would be weird. So, and I wasn't, it in the moment, in the way it was presented of her, like you said, I think it only works for me because, like you said just now, she supplied the answer. She said, no one, they were nobody. And it's like, either, I don't know, because she seems too strong. She's so resistant to his manipulation anyway. That answer has to come from her.
Right.
And maybe she's just in a state where she's so connected with the Force at this point that she's able to remember that more clearly, that the reason she blocked it out is because they were no one. And like, imagine being sold or something.
Well, and she's searching for belonging.
You would block that memory out.
Yeah. Here's something real quick, is that I think this is key to this discussion, is that I kind of believe, so Rey's our protagonist, and she's she comes from nowhere. She's a nobody. She's from no one. And Mike and I had said in our previous podcast, it's weird for us who had grown up with Star Wars and stuff to see our quote-unquote Skywalker, or our Solo, the guy that we're supposed to be attached to, on the dark side from the get-go.
Right.
So, like, we never got to see him beforehand fall. He's our guy. And now we have to follow a protagonist that I believe is more like Mara Jade. Well, actually, I'm going to take that back. Not like Mara Jade in the sense that she was on the dark side and things like that and whatever. But, like, just the idea that she is the romance to our Skywalker, our Solo.
Yeah.
I really do I believe they're going to end up together. And I believe that is what continues the Skywalker story, is those two are together. That just makes sense. I don't know how it does, how I didn't see it more so before, is that these two continue the Skywalker line through Rey and Ben Solo.
I could see that too.
She calls him Ben. She calls him Ben all the time,
Yeah, that's true. I didn't pick up on that until once she learns that's his name, she does.
Right.
I think the other thing that kind of fuels that too is dang it, my mind's no, never mind. My mind went blank there for a second. Is the fact that she doesn't give up hope on him, right? Yep. And that parallel can be drawn back to Luke and Vader. Like even when the old wizened crew of blue ghosts of Yoda and Obi-Wan are like, dude, he's gone. There's no hope. Don't do this. This shouldn't be your mission. He's still to the end. Which is the youth aspect of it, right? The youth says, never give up. There's always a way. There's always an answer. The aged think, hey, man, let this one go. Like, it's not worth it.
We've seen this go
great.
A different way before. Yeah.
Right. And we may or may not know more than you.
Right.
And so, and that's what Luke, that's the whole angle that Luke has. But Luke, dude, I think this movie made me love Luke more. Like, I always couldn't get over the episode 4 Luke, where he's just a whiny baby. Yeah. Like, he's so annoying in episode 4. Yeah. In episode 5 and 6, he even, like, I don't know if you've noticed this, I'm sure you have, but it's so weird how even like physically in episode 5, he looks so much more like a man than he does in episode 4. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the way they, like, the costume or the fact he's got like the scars on his face, but he grows up so much in those 4, 5, and 6. He does. But it's always hard to shake that, like, episode 4, because that's your initial reaction to Luke. It's like, oh god, dude. But the way this made me love him even more is so he's on that path of Yoda and Obi-Wan of just doom and gloom, like, Ben's gone, leave him, you can't change him, Rey, there's no way you can ever save him. Right. To sitting there with Leia, and you're right, it's not what he says so much as what he doesn't say. Right. He says, I can't save him. Right. He doesn't say Ben. He could just as easily. And if he would have been the Force ghost of Obi-Wan or Yoda, he would have said Ben can't be saved. Yeah. Yep. But you pointed that out. You said, he says, I can't save him. Yeah. So that, to me, leads into the next step of who can save him. Yeah. And it's the one who's not going to give up on him. Right. In the same way that the person who saved Vader was the one who didn't give up on him no matter what, no matter how far everyone else said he was gone. Right. It's going to be Rey. So that would be awesome, because then you get the whole. But see, people are going to find a problem with that too. They're going to say it's too predictable. It's just like Vader coming back, but he'll come back, and then the Skywalker name will be saved, right. And you'll please the Reylo fans and people who like. I freaking love Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. I like him as both. I love him as both. Yeah. But to see him come back and have like a cathartic like return to the light side would be amazing. I would be all about that. And you please a lot of people. I think that's a great theory. Yeah. And I think like you were saying, is that the idea that Luke didn't say, he couldn't be saved, and then Leia says, again, she's showing her age there, and that I know he's gone. I know. And, right. A mother knows like when it's But then Luke says, no one's ever really gone. I forgot about that. Like, yes, he does. He says that to her and he's referencing Han, but he's also what he's not saying though is that he's forgotten that. You know what I mean? Like that was something he kind of forgot, and that shows his comeback. Yes. Think about. People said the same thing about Han too. I think we focus so much on Luke and Leia and Vader and stuff, but we forget that Han Solo is his father. People doubt Han in episode 4. They doubt him in episode 5. They doubt him in episode 6. And Han always comes through. Dude, Luke would have been rubble in the Death Star trenches if it wasn't for Han Solo. Yeah, you're right. He came and he saved Luke Skywalker, allowed him to get that shot, that 2-meter shot that blew up the Death Star. He comes through in episode 5, like instead of taking on, and I get it that the Falcon's a piece of crap and wouldn't start, but he doesn't. I almost think like he could have fixed it faster if he needed to. Like he waited until the last second so that he could take Leia and he could go and like have more time to even like woo her kind of. So, but he always comes through. He might disappoint you in his initial reaction, and then like, dude, I don't know. So I think that Ben has that whole thing playing in him too, where he acts like he's not his father's son. He is totally. And I understand that he's also there's a lot of parallels between him and Vader, but I see just as many with him and Han Solo. Like it's cool that way. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I worry about though for 9 is that I kept thinking,
Snoke would be if Ben comes back to the light side. Who is it that he is sort of like going to overcome to come back? Who is his opponent there at the end?
Right.
Who does he save Rey from, or who does Rey save him from?
Sure.
Himself. I mean, I guess right now, but then that's why I was kind of worried. Snoke is dead, and I'm like, I'm also asking the question: is he dead? But like he looks pretty. He looks pretty dead. I mean, we cut Darth Maul in half, and Darth Maul came back.
I was gonna say the same thing happened to Darth Maul, and Lucas brought him back. So
right.
You never know.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe the spirit of Snoke could manifest. I mean, has there ever been a fight with a Force ghost? I don't know. Could he be a Force ghost? Probably not.
Yeah. A spirit that could possess someone else, or even just a dark side entity. Yeah.
And the other thing too, I guess that you have time for is, you guys have said, and I think you're right on, is that if this next one's not going to pick up right where the last one left off, we're not going to have that again. It would be like, I don't know, it'd be way too cluttered.
Yeah.
You got to have time for the resistance to build back up. And then who knows? Maybe the person Ben has to be saved from, or Kylo Ren has to be saved from, or overcome is maybe his own apprentice. Maybe he takes on. Maybe it's the Knights of Ren. Like we still haven't seen them.
Right.
Maybe it's someone that he takes on who feels it's their time to take him out, and maybe actually almost can. And maybe that's how Rey. I don't know. Or maybe maybe it's something that we never imagined. Right?
That we never imagined. I'm hoping it's an outside threat. I'm hoping it's an outside threat to the galaxy. And
so you're even thinking? Are you thinking like Yuuzhan Vong or whatever, or that's how they unite?
Quite frankly, I think it could be epic if all of a sudden like Rey or some of her academy is under siege or something, and he goes to her rescue, and it's this outside presence or something.
That'd be sweet too.
Because what is it that he's gonna have to kind of come back to? He loves Rey. I'll just throw it out there. I think he loves her.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty.
Well,
cool.
Rey's his daughter, so it makes sense.
Right.
He's got a father's love for her. Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. But you're right, dude. He's obsessed with her, obviously.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I just think it's gonna be like after this month, I think our goal on Rebel Watch is to kind of start like predicting where this is gonna go, and so we're gonna be getting more into that. Do you have any predictions? I mean, besides the idea that it's gonna take place maybe 10 years later or 5 years later or something like that, like.
No, dude, I have no expectations. I think a lot of people like could have probably thought initially, wow, well, everything was like so kind of wrapped up that there's almost no speculating you can do. But I argue that you'll have more open-ended speculation and predicting between 8 and 9 than you did for 7 and 8.
Anything can happen.
I mean, and that's the cool thing that Johnson did. That I think even people who were not happy with this film should realize is that anything can happen now in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like I think we always knew it before, but it just always followed. Well, 4, 5, and 6 were a shot out of the blue, and then 1, 2, and 3, like you said, we knew where the story was going, and so we criticized other things, and then 7 was a reboot, so we found the ways it was too much. It's a shot for shot remake of Episode 4. Well, whatever. Episode 4 was a great movie, so who cares? And it's not. It's different enough. But I think it's more like whatever can happen than ever. And I love it. And I actually like the humor. I love the humor that they did in 7, because it felt like I love 1, 2, and 3. Episode 1 is one of my favorite films, but there's not a drop of humor in that movie, in that trilogy. They tried, but it was terrible. The only thing you laugh at is how cheesy it is. Like that's it. Yeah. So that's something they executed very poorly. I think a lot of it was chemistry too, and maybe like the way it was filmed, there wasn't enough. There was too much like green screen and stuff that wasn't actually there, and like Obi-Wan talking to Dax, who's like this dude probably wasn't even there, like a tennis ball.
Yep.
And so that felt forced. And whereas 4, 5, and 6, you had this chemistry between the 3 of them, 4 of them, I think, because you got to throw Chewie in there.
Right.
And even R2 and 3PO, you got all this humor that just like comes naturally, and it's funny and it's good. And then 7 reestablished that connection. And then I totally understand how it felt misplaced in 8, and like especially that beginning scene with
Hux.
Poe and Hux. But what that did for me, it did something different for me. I also felt like it was I could feel people like, wait, what's going? This is kind of a high tension moment. Why is Poe acting like a goofball? See, I've never really liked Hux. Hux doesn't scare me. I think Hux is like one of those little I don't want to say this without cursing, but I can't. A little bitch boy who's just ascended the ranks because he's kissed ass his whole life.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. He doesn't. He might have like I don't know. And see, this is just from a movie perspective. I haven't read the novels. I don't know any of his backstory. Right. But he's the nerd who's gotten to the top, and he knows it. Uh-huh. And so I've always seen him, like in 7 especially. He takes himself so seriously, and I think that's kind of what that illuminated. It showed that. And the fact that he didn't pick up on the fact that he was being teased was no one ever challenges him, probably. He takes himself so seriously, and everyone else takes him seriously, at least to his face. Right. And so it threw him off, essentially. Right. And I think the other thing it does, too, is a lot of people were critical of Kylo Ren being a wuss, right? Everyone's like, oh, Rey had never even touched a lightsaber, and he got his ass kicked, you know, and not kissed, kicked. Right. And so it was almost, at the end of 7, you almost felt like, especially with that scene with Snoke and Kylo, when Hux barges in, and it's almost like, whoa, who's the favorite? Is it Hux or is it Kylo Ren? Like, it was very kind of confusing. It almost made you feel like Kylo Ren was weak. So I think some of that humor with Hux right off the bat is to show, okay, like what you guys have said, Kylo Ren's our bad guy. Yeah. Nobody else. Kylo Ren is, and he should be taken seriously. Like, it's not this Hux guy. Like, he takes himself seriously. He's not the badass, like it's Kylo Ren. And I think that's something that they didn't have to have that for Adam Driver to take the character there, but it just kind of helped, like, off the bat. You take him less seriously, you're like, well, this dude's a clown. He doesn't even know. Yeah. Like, Poe's mocking him right now. Yeah. Did he talk about leaving a voicemail or something?
Yeah.
Like, I'll leave a message.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just showed too. I think it also kind of so the timing was weird, but for me it worked because I'm like, it even set up the whole thing of Poe, just the rashness of just, he's in this life or death moment and he's using his humor, which is a huge risk, to buy time and let everything happen that needs to happen and the escape to go down better. But it's or the destruction of the what's it called, the dreadnought, or what's it called? Yeah,
the dreadnought.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah. I think a lot of people, I get what you're saying, with the Hux thing, trying to kind of lessen him a little bit, but there are people who like Mike who love Hux and wish he were played a bigger role, and I also think that he could be the the opposite of or like maybe like a foe for Kylo Ren, like a legitimate foe, someone that he is always kind of like scheming against or something. Like, who's going to be I guess, I'm always thinking ahead. So I'm kind of like, if Ben Solo is going to be, or Kylo Ren's going to be the bad guy, then when he returns, I don't know how it happens, So I'm like, who is the next bad guy? And then, so that's why people were kind of looking at that Hux thing going like, oh man, like Hux just looks like a fool,
Yeah. And I guess he was supposed to make you think of like Tarkin, right? Grandma Tarkin. Mm-hmm. Like, there was Vader and then there was Tarkin, and they were kind of in different ways almost equals. They enforced the same. They enforced, but in different ways, kind of almost. Yeah. I guess that's the impression I always got. And I think they did an okay job of that in 7. But I don't know. I don't believe that actor. I think that's part of it too. I just think he's a great actor, but he doesn't scare me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
and I wish he were more,
because you don't know.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I wish he were more like Tarkin, actually, because he is like Tarkin, but like he gets force pushed around. He gets whipped around. He gets like slapped down by Snoke and by Kylo, and he gets made fun of by Poe. It almost seems kind of ridiculous, and so I'm kind of like, I do kind of wonder what his purpose. I don't know.
Yeah, what's his role? Yeah, even like when they're in the walker. And because I thought it was funny, but I don't know, it worked for me. Like when Kylo Ren gives an order, and then he steps in from behind, and he gives the same order, and everyone in the walker looks back at him like, "Dude, that was just said. Like that's not your job anymore." I know. Yeah, it was kind of So maybe he I don't know. I think maybe that's just a difference in opinion between Johnson and J.J. Abrams. Maybe like they had different visions clearly they had different visions for Hux, because I don't think Abrams would have had that happen. And I think
because Hux
Johnson
is not treated that way in The Force Awakens. So
no,
it's a good point.
And I don't think, and that's the thing, is I don't think Hux's character changes. Like, I think he's consistently, the actor does a great job of playing the same character. But you're right. It's like the way he's interacted with is way different.
Right.
Yeah. And the only thing I can see that makes sense of that is to build up Kylo. Just help. I mean, he doesn't need a lot of help, but it just does. It pushes him. It even has the audience going like, dude, if something needs to be done for the First Order, it's gonna be Kylo. It's not gonna be Hux.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, man. Wow. We're all over the place, but it's great. You know, we're kind of.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I like it. Lane. This is who Lane is, though. Lane is just like you say go, and he just goes. You know. We
never finish one conversation strand, do we?
No, we don't. It's great though. I love it. I love it. That's why it's great talking to you.
Okay, but I think it kind of works with this movie. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on at once.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes everywhere. It does. It's not what you expect. I mean, we didn't even talk about like the whole. I thought it was sweet, like the that I don't know if we even can call it a false climax, because it really was climactic too. But like you've got Rey, Kylo, and Snoke, and then you've got Poe and Rose and the First Order, and then you've got Holdo doing the like shooting through light speed through Snoke's ship.
Visually,
and it's like
stunning.
all three of those climaxes happening at the same time. I mean, that was like, I thought Rose and Finn were dead. I thought they were going to shoot him and they were going to die somehow, even though I didn't pay attention because he hadn't fought Phasma yet.
Right.
I thought the explosion might have killed Rey and Kylo and Snoke. I was like, I was like, are they dead now too? Like, what the heck?
Right.
It was crazy. It was a they left you in a state of wonder the entire time, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I loved it.
I have to say, I hear people critique it and stuff, but I asked them, were you on the edge of your seat? Were you kind of like, what's happening next? Were you kind of, and that's what it did the initial time that you're watching it. You're like, I don't even know how to predict this anymore. Like, I was in your seat where I was like trying to predict, and every time they went left, I was like, okay, now we're going left, and then they would go right. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
And I usually do that in movies, and it almost made me kind of annoyed at myself. I'm like, dude, stop trying. It's just like what Hamill said. Right. Wait for 8, don't speculate, right?
Right, yeah.
And I was like, dude, just sit here and take it in and enjoy it. Stop trying to figure out what's coming next.
Right.
And just let the story be told. Like, that's where you got to trust your storytellers.
Yeah.
You got to trust them, because I think he did a great job of trusting the audience. Like you said, he used a lot of subtlety, which you don't see a lot of in blockbuster movies. And he used a lot of illusions, and I love that. And I even love I love Luke milking that sea creature and the green milk, because it shows like that to me showed like how much like Yoda he was, because Yoda was weird.
Yeah.
Remember when he meets Yoda and he's annoyed and he's like going through his bag and he's almost, it's almost the same way that he was testing Rey. Is Rey going to stick around? In the same way Yoda was like, does this boy have patience? He even says to Obi-Wan, he's like, he doesn't have the patience. I can't train him. Right. And so maybe that was Luke. Maybe he really didn't want to like have anything to do with her, but maybe he was just saying, okay, let's see. Like, let's see if she sticks around. So
yeah, it could have been. It was it might have been twofold. Just kind of the idea that he is out here so far gone, and then like really, here's what it's like. This is reality here on Ahch-To.
Yeah,
check
he's
it out.
To drink, right? He's got to go fish too.
Right.
Which is sweet. That was awesome. And see, that's where I think they used some of the creativity from 1, 2, and 3. Right? I mean, that was something wacky. Like 1, 2, and 3 had a lot of wacky stuff like that we hadn't seen before, and it didn't necessarily always land. Yeah. And for me, like in episode 8, when he's doing that stuff, I'm like, that is so cool. It's a throwback to like the blue milk and Tatooine, and he's fishing. Like, what the heck? And he's like walking on these stilts and doing this pole vaulting stuff. It was just, it was cool. I liked it. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, all right, man. I mean, that was, I love it, man. I love talking Star Wars with you. It's great. You know? So hopefully we'll have to get the DVD or the Blu-ray and sit down and watch the deleted scenes together.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be coming out soon. So, we'll definitely
I would love that. I would love that.
Before I let you go, man, so you and I are we're on an adventure. I kind of wanted to
We're on an unexpected adventure, my friend.
Right?
Yeah.
So I thought I'd put a little plug in here for our other show. Lane is so Star Wars is my number 1, 2, 3, 4, but I can clearly say a number 5 in my top 5 is Lord of the Rings. So I love it. It's what kind of got me through a lot of different things, and Lane's right there with me. So we run a podcast. Why don't you tell them all about it?
It's called an unexpected podcast, Talkin Tolkien. We call it Up Talkin Tolkien. So we've got a lot of different things going on. I guess maybe that fits with my personality too, or my unofficially diagnosed ADHD. Maybe that's what you're hinting at, huh?
Right.
So we're trying to do a lot of different things. We've got, obviously, we want to. We haven't read the books for a while. When we did read them, they stuck like glue, right? But we wanted to get back into just revisiting the books. So we're doing like a literature podcast, which is a reread, starting the Fellowship of the Ring, and we're going to go chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
We're also going to cover news on the Amazon TV show. So Amazon bought rights for a multi-season Lord of the Rings Tolkien like television show that no one really knows what it's going to be yet. So it's probably going to be kind of Games of Thrones-y. I mean, I'm sure they've seen what Games of Thrones has been able to accomplish, and they thought, hey, Tolkien wrote that stuff first, so let's see if we can make a TV show, and there's a lot that hasn't been explored.
Right.
So we'll be talking about that. And we're going to do goofy stuff, too. Like we have Middle-earth Smackdowns we want to do, where we take, and the one we're going to do first, I think we talked about taking Frodo and Bilbo, right?
Right.
And we're going to flip a ring, and whoever calls that side gets to pick who they're going to defend, Frodo or Bilbo. Yeah. And then the other one has to take the other one. So you've got to come prepared with pros and cons for each. And the subject might be like, who's the better hero, Frodo or Bilbo? Yeah. And then we just kind of go at it. We may have some ale on hand. We may be sober drinking coffee. I don't know. But so we'll do fun stuff like that too. And then we even have some episodes that we're going to do for like Patreon supporters. If people choose to support us that way, we'll give them additional content that'll be interesting too. We're doing one where Ezra is gonna explore, get deep down, mine the depths of wizardry, where the wizards come from, and the different wizards and their purpose, and all the cool stuff that he's just gonna go in and mine the depths of the unfinished tales. And he's gonna go into the appendices and get all crazy. Yeah,
man.
I've gotten to go to
New Zealand, right?
Yeah, I've gotten to go to New Zealand a couple times, so we're going to do a kind of like a travel pod that's called There and Back Again. So if you want to go visit New Zealand, I'll give you some places that I went and saw that I really enjoyed, that you might enjoy. And if you've been to New Zealand, you could reminisce that trip, or if you're wanting to go, you can say, hey, I'd like to put that on my itinerary, and kind of like the times of year you can go, cool places to stop and eat. It won't all be Lord of the Rings. It'll be based on the journey from the Fellowship to Mordor. So from the Shire to Mount Doom, I'll hit up all those places in between, and even some places that were in the Hobbit. But it'll also be, where should you stay, what should you eat, based on my experiences. So and we have other stuff planned too, man. I mean,
I know it's gonna be epic.
Yeah. So it's taken up a gap that we've both had in our lives of not only just hanging out, but also getting into the greatest author of, well, people say the 20th century. I would say probably of top 5 of all time. So episodes are coming every fortnight, we said, right?
I think January 14th will be the first date of the reread. We did mini meetings back on January 3rd, so that's already out for you to listen to. Actually, by the time this airs, I think this might be the 15th, January 15th. This is coming out. So you guys should be able to listen to that and check it out. Subscribe. Hit us up on Facebook at Up Talkin Tolkien. So, and
that's something that you've been really good at communicating. That we both want to communicate. Is it's supposed to be like a book club, right? In the same way that Swish and Flick, the number 2 Harry Potter literature podcast in the world, by the way, has been able to accomplish. We want to do the same kind of thing for Middle Earth. So we want it to feel like a book club. You got a long drive. You don't have time, or you either read the chapter before that, or you're going to read the chapter, or you don't have time to read a chapter. We want you to be able to put it in, or on a Sunday afternoon, pop it on and listen to it. And and go chapter through chapter. And then we were going to start, like you said, we're going to start discussion threads on our Facebook page. It's kind of where we're doing a lot of stuff.
Yep.
What did this chapter mean to you? What did you catch that we missed?
Right.
What did we say that maybe you don't agree with? What did we say that you loved?
Yeah.
Give us your perspective on it. And it's going to be this massive book club. And I think we have, is it getting close to like 200 likes already? Like it's definitely close to 150 on Facebook. So we've got a good size amount of people already built up just from listening to that first episode of many meetings.
Yep.
And I think Lord of the Rings is never irrelevant, or Middle Earth, Tolkien is never irrelevant.
Right.
But I think with this news with the show and maybe some more, I've even heard talk Ezra of more films coming out.
What?
So yeah. So
wow.
Maybe with some of this stuff brewing again, maybe we, it's been too long since we've been in Middle Earth, and we've really only seen it from the perspective of Peter Jackson's team in New Zealand, which did a fantastic job. But I think maybe we're seeing that, and I think we're seeing that like different people it's fun to see different people's take on the same kind of thing. I think you're seeing that with Star Wars. You're seeing it with all the comic book movies. I mean, you had Taika Waititi, who's a Kiwi director, film Thor Ragnarok, and his approach is way different from a lot of American directors. Yeah. So I think the potential of seeing Middle Earth reimagined through different eyes is also kind of appealing too. And it's always cool to go back. There's, like we said, there's so much in the books that Tolkien wrote that we could. We're going to take it at a Turtles pace. Yeah. Some of those chapters are going to have to be like multiple podcasts.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good too because you want to like sit and let it marinate because he was. He's that good. Gosh, talk about layering. Yeah. The dude was the king of layering.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exciting, guys. That's going to be a lot of fun. Check that out. A lot of people who are interested in, sci-fi are also interested in fantasy. So just like we are. So figured we
absolutely
throw it out there.
They are swords. They are laser swords. So,
right. That's right. Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on here. I think this is going to be my last segment for our January podcast. So, those of you that are listening, really appreciate it. Hit us up on Facebook. /Rebel Watch, and we also have a Patreon series where we're kind of uploading some new stuff there, basically some what if stuff, some Thronology, characterization, and things like that. So go check that out. Mike, Matt, and I are all uploading on Patreon, and we're gonna have more coming for you each month. I'm hoping to do these monthly podcasts. So hopefully February 15th, I'll be able to kind of produce another one. And if you guys have thoughts, theories, things you want to read, or even if you want to be on the show, hit us up on Patreon and let me know. So, all right, buddy. Thanks so much, Lane. And to you guys that are listening, as always, may the Force be with you.